Halloween.
Forever.
Ready? I got one for you. You know what? I'm going to rapid fire. I'm going to do 3 jokes because this is a funny episode. It's a goddamn clown episode.
Oh, shit.
We're going to keep it funny. Ready? All right. Here's my first one. You know, my wife, you guys know my wife, right? My wife, she actually dated a clown before we met.
Oh, yeah?
Interestingly enough. Do you guys know that?
No, I was not aware.
No, wow.
No. Yeah. Well, listen, hey, I got pretty big shoes to fill.
Hey-oh.
Clown shoes. They're big ones. All right, ready? What is the difference between a well-dressed man on a bicycle and a poorly dressed clown on a tricycle?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Attire.
Ah, yes.
All right, last one. Favorite one.
Uh-huh.
I'm putting it all into this one. All right, ready? What do you get when you boil a clown for 8 hours?
Oh, man. I actually used to know this one. No.
A laughing stock. You guys,
Damn it.
laughing
Damn it.
stock. Boys, that's the creme de la creme right there. Welcome to a very silly Showdown episode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
Hey, who that handsome boy?
It's me. I'm Big Clown Ben.
Oh, God.
Whoa, we got a real zany guy over there.
Oh, we're not doing this in clown character? I thought we were.
Oh, please, no. Oh, please, no.
Steve's super. We found Steve's trigger. We did it. We found it after all these years. He doesn't like clown impressions.
That's just audio poison.
Yeah, I can imagine that's going to crack bad.
All right, guys. We got our old buddy Bigfoot Ben coming around for another showdown.
I'm back. It's great to be here, everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Pleased to have you, as always.
So excited.
We're here on a Friday night. We all got some beers. We're fucking talking clown movies. I mean, come on. What more could you ask for?
This is a great way to spend a Friday
for
night.
This very first Monday of March. The absolute garbage months are behind us. March is still kind of sucks, but it's a whole lot better than January and February. It's almost spring. We got clowns. We got beers. It's Friday. Let's fucking.
If they
rock,
listen
guys.
to this on time, it literally should be like almost 70 degrees on Monday. I feel like that's what they're calling for
here in the Western
Yep.
Pennsylvania region. Yeah,
Yep.
we're gonna have some nice weather. Things are looking up. Things are coming up Millhouse right now. I got a big old fucking beer here. Let's talk about beers here in a quick second. Before we do that, just remind you, this is our Showdown episode for the month of March. This is what we have referred to on a couple of different occasions by different names. I've been referring to it, I think, as the march towards clownness. What were we calling it again?
We called it a bunch
the March
of things.
of the Clowns.
a bunch of names.
Yes, we called
March
it a
of the
bunch
Clowns.
Yeah, that's what
Steve called it
landed
March
on.
Clownness. Boo. March Clownness. That was a bad one. Somebody else had a good one too, though. Maybe Dan did. I don't remember, but somebody else threw a good one at us. I'm just going to call it the March of the Clowns here, guys. We got 3 dang old clown movies that we're going to talk about today, and we explicitly held back, and we're not picking those big tentpole clown movies, if you will.
We didn't.
Like a circus tent. Get it? We're not going to do that. We're actually we're plumbing the depths of Tubi for a few real wacky sons of bitches here. And then we're going to make a whole dang month celebration out of it. We're going to talk about fucking clown movies all month long. We're talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We're going to talk about probably fucking Clownado or something like that. We're going to talk about a bunch of different clown shit. We're going to get silly as fuck here in the beautiful month of March. If you want to continue to tune in throughout that very silly, very zany, very oil painty, I don't know, month of March, make sure you go over and subscribe on that dang old podcast app on your Spotify's, your Apple Podcasts, whatever it is. And then if you like the show, give us a 5-star review, write a little thing, say, hey, these guys, silly guys. And then DM us. I'll send you some fucking stickers in the mail. I always forget to say that until the end, so I'll say it at the top of the show here. And then make sure so you can help us vote on shit. You can help suggest topics. You can help do all that kind of stuff. Make sure you go over and follow us on the social medias at Halloween is Forever. On all of them except for Twitter, it's at Halloween is Forever. And then Ben, real quick, because I'll definitely forget. Ben's always doing fun stuff on the internet. Where are all the listeners out there if they want to follow Ben? See what he's up
if you
to?
want to see some dead animals in the fall, and if you want to see me Ken Beard Abjuration, you can find me at Bigfoot Benjamin on Instagram. And that's about it. And I dabble in some Bigfoot stuff. If you want to talk to me about Bigfoot, please reach out. We can talk about his likelihood of existence, how silly of him existing sounds. I'll take it anyway. Go ahead. Let's talk about him.
What that dick smell like?
What that dick smell like? We can also talk about that.
Isn't that a thing? Isn't that a thing? Always people talk about how Bigfoot's dick smells real bad.
And they're probably not wrong. I imagine it's got to be bad.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, they call him skunk ape for a reason.
Or he clearly doesn't wear underwear. It's out in the air all day long, and it smells better than any of ours.
That's true. I mean, it probably smells better than mine.
Yep. My dick stinks.
My dick reeks. All right, guys.
My dick be reeking.
That's a t-shirt. My dick reeks. All right, guys. Let's talk about beers. Ben, you're the guest. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking all kinds of stuff. I mean, I am here to get fucked up and just black out, and that's when the podcast will be over, is when I fall back in this chair. So
we have to wake up Ben to keep talking about his movie.
If he passes out, he forfeits. But we do have to wait.
Oh yeah,
we have to wake him up.
That is a house rule.
I am supporting
that is a house rule.
Pittsburgh beer scene, the Brewers Guild. I've got some Cinderland, some black IPA. I've got some Dancing Gnome, Painter Pigment, and then I've got a West Coast from Grist House, and I've got multiple of each of these. So I am here to get fucked up.
Oh. You are not even playing games.
I'll
here.
pee in the empty cans.
That.
I don't care. I ain't leaving.
Speaking of Pittsburgh beer scene, I heard little birdie told me through the grapevine that the Brewers Guild might be bringing back the Brewer Olympics this year. Is that happening?
There has been some rumors of that. Yes, there has been. There's a talk, and I can't say anything official yet, but it's been tossed across the table a couple times.
Just a little teasy, right. Just a little
wow,
teasy.
You know more than I thought you would know.
I'm a sneaky guy. What do you? It's the first thing you're cracking a little Iron City.
Iron City. They're in the guild too, so that's fine.
All right.
They're a member as well.
Sure.
All right. Sure. Steve, what are you drinking on?
I'm not representing. I'm being bad.
Me neither.
Being bad.
I'm drinking a foreign beer.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's the imports.
I do got two, but I got one I'm in the middle of, and it's not even beer. It's cider time, baby.
Oh, okay.
It's called Peach and Love by the Blake's Hard Cider. It's Peach Party. It's peach and blackberry. Peach and blackberry cider.
Oh, that sounds nice.
That sounds like a nice combination.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice tart little guy, but it's got a good peach flavor to it. It's I don't think it's too sweet, so you might actually like it, Brian. But yeah,
that's my thing with Blake's is I do feel like they generally make a good consistent product, but most of them are too sweet for me.
Yeah. This is nowhere near like their fall caramel releases, which all just taste like the most blown out candy. Like this is pretty agreeable, I think, with anybody. But I'm enjoying it, so yeah, I'm down with that. And then once I'm done with it, I'll move on to the Three Floyds Return of the Ancients, which is a fucking Irish style red ale because we're in March and that's their month.
Irish red. I like a fucking Irish red ale. Nobody drinks them. Nobody makes them. But when I can find me one, I'll drink on it.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'll drink on it.
But here's the thing. You say no one drinks them. No one has them. Three Floyd has them. I drink them.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
Hey, especially
you talk about them a lot on the podcast. Abjuration has one in the tank right now. They just they mashed in yesterday, and it is in the fermenter as we speak.
And does it have a bunch of
Nice.
Lucky Charms in it too, or is it just a straight?
It is just
Okay.
a straight Irish red.
Nice.
Gotta check.
I like
Gotta
that.
check.
Listen, I love a good Irish stout, right? I love a good dry Irish stout.
Mhm.
There's very few people that make like a really good, proper, well attenuated bitter one.
Yeah.
And so most of the time I'll just reach for fucking, Guinness or a Murphy's or something like that. I'm glad to see people making the Irish red ale again. Although I would be worried something like Three Floyds, although I do like their beer, it might be a little on the hoppy side. I
Maybe.
don't know.
I'll let you know when I get into it.
The one I see all the time is Great Lakes,
Yeah.
the Conway's
Conway,
Irish Ale,
yep.
which I used to love, and as just I haven't tried. I haven't had it this year. I won't. I'll reserve my judgment on this year's, but the last couple years it was a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
That beer was a fucking DMS bomb. Was it last year or 2 years ago? It was a DMS bomb, and it was a struggle.
Gross.
I had a 6-pack, and 5 of them sat in the fucking fridge for a long time.
Bummer.
So anyway, I am drinking again. I'm drinking a little foreign guy. Actually, look, my label's coming off because this beer is very old. I have had this big old 750 of Cam Eau de Lambic from 2015. I have had this. It was a cellar pick, and then I pulled out of the cellar to put in the fridge to drink with my brother when he was home for Christmas, and that's how long it's been sitting in the fridge. Because I felt bad opening this big giant bottle of very old, very expensive lambic by myself.
And yet
and
here
then I was
you
like,
are.
you know what? Fuck it. I'm sick of sitting in there. Staring at it. So I'm drinking the whole fucking bottle
Cool.
by myself, and it's fantastic. This is one of the world's fucking great sour beers, in my opinion. And it's old when the fucking label's all falling off and shit.
Yeah, the glue
And,
doesn't even hold anymore.
No. And talk about dry. I mean, this thing is fucking like wildly attenuated, and it's mostly still, but it's still just like bone fucking dry and super funky, as you might imagine. Going in all types of weird tropical directions too. It's pretty fantastic.
Yum.
I'm gonna sip on this till it's gone. And then I think that I have some fucking Coors Lights in the basement that I'm going to get straight on after that. Once I'm sufficiently tuned up. All right. We got the beers out of the way. We got the other shit at the top of the show out of the way we got to talk about. I say we jump right into these sons of bitchin' movies.
We should.
And Steve, you get to pick the order in which we discuss these movies. So tell our friends at home what you want to do, how you want to handle this.
Yeah, look, I ain't gonna make the audience wait around. We're going right into Killer Clown from 2009. Ain't no sense in waiting for.
You know what they came for.
Yeah.
You know what they came for.
Yeah. I
Did
know what
they?
they came for.
Is that
You know
what they
they all-
came for? I
They
don't
all
know.
came for that killer clown action, baby. And not killer clowns, plural. And they are not from outer space. There is but one,
Yeah.
and he ain't from outer
No,
space.
he's not.
The next movie, I'm actually just gonna let you guys kind of pick. I don't want to force nothing too much. I don't want to be too. So like if Ben, you want to go next, you can go next. Or if you want to go last, you can. Whatever you want, man.
I want to go second. Second, please.
Okay.
I want to
You wanna
follow
go second?
the Killer Clown. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So
All
we'll go Killer Clown, Clowntown, and end it on Blood Harvest.
I actually felt a little silly not picking a movie with clown in the title.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Hey.
In doing so, on Tubi, I found a movie last night that I'd never heard of. Steve, you might know because it's a trauma flick. A little movie I actually posted on the Instagram called Blood Hook.
Mm.
It's from the 80s. It's a movie. It's about fishing in the North Woods of Wisconsin.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And there's a lot of lining kugels referenced and stuff. And yeah.
So that sounds more like a movie that was distributed by Troma rather than actually.
It does not have trauma vibes in comparison to, yes, it does not have traditional trauma vibes. I would assume that's the case.
Yeah. I assume. That sounds like one that was distributed because I don't know it. So
Yeah.
it was probably distributed by them. But if you give it the seal of approval, we'll check it out. And
It's fun.
does it have clowns in it, or is it just you stumbled upon because of
sans clowns? It's because I typed in blood space into Tubi. Which that alone would be a fun thing to do because there's a lot of movies with blood in the title. On the Tubies.
Yeah, I wonder if we have that as a wheel topic. Just blood.
I don't think we do.
Space.
Blood
Yeah,
space.
no. I'm gonna add.
Blood.
I'm adding that to the wheel. Just blood space.
Yeah, blood anything.
Yeah.
The interesting thing too is I'm sitting there trying to figure out who the fuck is the star in this movie. The main kind of guy. It's a little crew. It's a silly little teen horror flick, right? Almost in an outdoor setting, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that fucking guy. I know him. I've seen him. I recognize his voice. What do I know him from? I'm looking online. I'm like, I don't know what his name is. He doesn't have a picture on IMDb. I finally was so proud of myself. I figured out what it was and I went and confirmed and I was correct. The star of the movie is the gentleman who is the neighbor of Karen in Goodfellas that gets pistol whipped by Ray Liotta. The guy who owns the convertible that Ray Liotta goes over and pistol whips him. That the tall guy, that's the star of this movie.
Awesome.
of Bloodhook.
Look at him now. Wow.
and he's great. And this was pre Goodfellas. So you know what? This was his jumping off point that got him into Martin Scorsese's world, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, this has nothing to do with anything. All right. So we got the order.
Yep.
Steve, without further ado, take us into Killer Clown, aka Blood Clown.
Blood Clown.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just gonna breeze super high level on the plot because the plot is barely existent, and there are so many other pieces that are wonderful, just wonderful to talk about. So, if you hadn't heard the episode when we were originally announcing our picks, this one came up to me as I watched just a bunch of clown titled movies on Tubi. It was just a rolling spree. I watched Circus Kane and then I watched a bunch of other ones. And then this one just fell in my lap and I immediately fell in love with it within the first 5 minutes. But I watched a half hour and I was like, this is the perfect thing. I win with this movie. I win. It doesn't matter if I don't win, I still win. So Killer Clown is one of those amazing tributes to auteurism without skill. It's auteurism without skill. It's somebody who has the heart of an artist, but none of the skill. It's
all right. I get it now.
Yeah. It's if you've seen The Room or if you've seen any of the Neil Breen movies, specifically like Fateful Findings is the one people love the most. I think it's the one that gets the most play because I think it was actually on Amazon for a minute. So that's why everybody could see it rather than having to email Neil Breen and have him personally ship you DVDs of his movies. That's how you get his movies because he's a nutcase.
This gave me big Tommy Wiseau vibes for sure.
Yeah, this is a lot more in the realm of Tommy Wiseau because it still is like competent in the sense that it makes sense as a movie. Like Neil Breen stuff like feels like somebody had an episode. Right. It feels like the scrawlings of a schizophrenic patient. So
yeah, exactly.
This is still a movie, but it is a 100%.
This is still a movie.
100% a Julian Chia joint. It is directed by Julian Chia, written by Julian Chia, stars Julian Chia. The first thing you see is the Julia Chia Studios logo at the beginning. The first character you see is Julia Chia just laying on the lap of someone who he's hired to be his wife. It is 100% all him. And he is just like, he is partially reviled, but he is also renowned in Malaysia as just being this singular directing force of like, I'm putting out what I want. I'm investing a whole bunch of money that I don't know where it comes from, but I'm investing it in making these fucking awful movies. And for that, he rules because he stands out from just regular bad.
I love this type of thing. I love the, like you said, the mentality of, I am making a movie as if I'm the only person who's ever going to watch it, but I am going to put it out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm making it 100% just for, like, as if I'm the only person, not just as if it's just for me, but as if it is for the world, but I'm the only person who lives in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everyone is in the world is just me.
Yeah.
And so I'm making it for everyone in that sense.
Yeah. I was going to say, it is definitely meant, like, it is. This is the other thing that makes movies like this great, is that they're produced in earnest. Like, they're not produced tongue in cheek like a Sharknado.
Exactly.
They're produced in earnest, in that he believes this is going to land him bigger and better projects. And like, that's why it fucking rules.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The tongue never comes into the same. It is in a different mouth than the cheek. Yeah. Like, this is serious as a fucking heart attack. But it is also a weird vanity project, clearly inspired by Scream. If Scream were made by like a 13-year-old moron.
Yeah. It's like, it's inspired by Scream, but also it falls into like other vanity projects like Get Even, where it's just this dude making himself look the coolest, just to be the coolest. And
like, there's tones of, I made this movie to get laid.
Oh yeah, there's for sure tones of, I made this to get laid, which also kind of gets problematic considering all of his co-stars.
Yeah, they're all 12. It's fucking weird.
I was gonna say this is nice to hear. Like, this puts this movie in a different perspective for me. I don't know any of the names that you guys had talked about just now. I will say though that this movie was exhausting because of all the fucking running. There was so much cardio.
Yes.
They ran forever.
There's a lot of cardio. Well put. Yeah, it's just like, it's not like a chase scene. It's like extended running until both parties are very tired.
It's like he had just got done watching Run Lola Run and was like, I'm gonna fucking make that my movie. That's my movie, but with a clown killer.
Yeah. and like, it's also shot in Malaysia, so it was like 100% humidity.
Yeah.
So everyone's just so sweaty all the time.
Like, especially the clown killer had to be completely sweating because he's in a full mask and robe at all times.
I was sweating just watching him in that rubber mask.
So yes, the basic breakdown of the movie is so simple. There is a killer clown. He's on the loose. And the film starts with Julian Chia, who plays Kevin. Kevin's wife takes out the garbage and she gets killed. This incenses Kevin to also kill the killer clown. He is upset about this, but it takes him a long time to do that because he's pretty incompetent and bad at killing clowns. And so in the meantime, we have to watch the clown also kill everybody else. He kills all of the vacationing population of Malaysia.
Yeah. I will say, and I think it's important to call out, and I'm going to continue to bang this drum.
Yeah.
That this killer is not a killer clown. He is a killer wearing a clown mask. That is very, very, he's wearing a Scream. He's Scream from the neck down.
I don't know. You want to go down?
Same knife?
Yeah.
The same knife?
Yeah.
He is Scream from the neck down, and he just has a rubber clown mask on.
I will refute this, but also I don't know that you want to go down this route at all.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. His clown in his movie was the nicest guy in all of our movies.
He's still a clown.
Your clown.
No, he doesn't.
Your clown does not kill, Brian.
He thinks he's a clown.
Yeah.
He thinks he's a clown.
Your clown does not kill.
It's March of the Clowns. It's March of the Clowns. No. It's not Killer Clowns.
No. When it was voted on initially, it was voted on as Killer Clowns. It was Killer Clowns.
March of the Clowns, boys. Welcome to the March of the Clowns.
It was Killer Clowns, Killer Cars, and Gothic Horror. And Killer Clowns won, and somebody didn't pick a clown that killed.
Yeah. Someone just picked a clown with autism.
Red hair. He's a red herring.
Which means
clown.
He doesn't kill.
But you think he does the whole time.
No, you don't.
Well, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
You don't, but you're supposed
pretty
to.
apparent.
That's just because it's a bad, poorly made movie.
It's pretty apparent.
All right, we're not talking about my movie yet.
Come on,
your guy's not a clown. He does not pretend he's a clown. He doesn't think he's a clown.
He absolutely does pretend he's a clown because he spends all that time.
Oh, you're right. He does. He does some juggling. You're right. He does.
Yeah, he harasses that guy outside of his house with rolling balls, and he does juggles, and he does dances. He absolutely believes he's a clown.
Don't judge the bottom half of his outfit.
I forgot about that scene.
Yeah.
I just wish he was wearing a clown attire aside from the mask, because that's all.
Shoes. You want big shoes.
I want big shoes. I mean, imagine those chase scenes with the big shoes. How
would have been
just slapping through that parking garage.
Undeniably would have been better, but. Look, we can only expect so much out of Julian. What we can't expect out of Julian is that he's going to spike the camera and look directly into it sometimes. We can expect him to mumble a lot of his lines. We can expect him to say the very awesome line, "I have all this force and fury in me, and that I can't even understand it."
I love that line. I wrote that line down too. I also started calling Julian, which I don't know what his actual Kevin, right? He's Kevin in the movie. I was referring to him as Tommy Blue Jeans.
Sure.
I don't know why. Because he's just trying to be like this American action hero.
Yeah, he really is.
Well, that's the other thing, is he's trying to sell this movie as American as possible. So he's Malaysian, and the first the wife that we meet at the beginning, Amy, she's also Malaysian, but everybody has like an American or Western sounding name. So it's like, Kevin, Amy, I believe there's a Susan in there. So like he tries to make everything American that way. And then he casts a bunch of teenagers who just had to be on vacation, and they're all the victims of his film. And then they're all like white British teens or white American teens.
Yeah, he stood for hours creepily in the corner of an arcade until he worked his way into some teenagers' conversations and talked them into coming and being on screen for a while if he bought them booze.
I think you're overselling it by saying it's an arcade. It was definitely at the pool we see in this film, because this film is filmed in basically 3 locations, and I think all of those locations are part of the same resort. And he definitely just found unsupervised teens at the pool of this resort and asked them for like a day or two of shooting.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, you're probably right.
He got extra out of the one girl because she shows up in a number of scenes. But all the other white teens he has are just there they have a screen time of 5-6 minutes before they're chased by the clown and killed. And then that's it. But he got bodies in. That's his job. If they're not running, he's getting bodies in. And if he's not getting bodies in, then he's in a location with his girlfriend talking about vacation. That's all they talk about. They love talking about vacation. They love it.
They're always talking about vacation.
Romance.
I was trying to think of a shirt that would say like, my body is, you see like my body is a machine that turns blank into blank. That like set up for a shirt joke. Yeah. My body is a machine that turns non-vacations into vacations. Just like everything is just, let's have a conversation about a vacation. Like I imagine Tommy Wiseau is the same way. I can think of Tommy Wiseau like, he's always just really concerned about the next place he's going to go on vacation.
Yeah. And even worse, they're not even vacations to Malaysia or like other Southeast Asian countries. Like he's not trying to sell that. He's always talking about Italy and Spain. Like he's talking about European vacations. So,
Yeah.
so fuck the tourism board of Malaysia. We're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. He's what do you mean Malaysia? He's in America Town, USA.
That's right.
The whole movie.
His biggest anchor to try and sell this idea of America is, I guess he found an American expat. Is this guy who plays Lieutenant Morrison, and
Yeah, he's good.
his name is Randy Moss. Like the credits for this film are hilarious because it feels like a bunch of made up.
Randy Moss.
It's a bunch of made up. It feels like a bunch of made up names because like there's a Peter Jackson in this movie. The lieutenant is played by Randy Moss. Then two of the girls, they were obviously sisters, but like one's Tilly and the other's Georgia. And it's just like, it feels like you're making up names at this point.
Well, the Peter Jackson thing, I saw in multiple instances where that was like called out on this. Like, I honestly think that was like an underhanded way of like getting more Google hits. You know, that was like an SEO trick, you know?
Yeah, early SEO trick. And then there's also a kid in this named Timmons McKinnon. I was like, that's a fake name. Stop that.
Timmons McKinnon.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Randy Moss is played like that. He is just someone's drunk, like someone's like uncle's drunk friend.
This is the cop we're
who,
talking
like,
about, correct?
Right. Yeah. The cop. Yeah.
Like he hangs around like your uncle's house, like even when he's not invited, he always has fireworks. Like that's what Randy Moss is.
Like his skin is definitely affected by the sun and not in a positive way, which is weird for the climate that he's in. And then he also he's one of the few people just still rocking a single left earring.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Hell yeah,
it's great.
Oh, it's so wonderful. He's old enough that it was the style as he was coming up, but he never gave it up either. So he just stuck with it.
Dude, my dad had that for so long. He had it for so long. And then he went and had both ears pierced, and then I don't think he has any. But he rocked. I remember when I was a kid, you know, in the like late 80s and the 90s, my dad had the left earring, rocking it hard. Little hoop in there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. There's just something wonderful about seeing an old man with a big gold brass hoop or whatever it is, and that's what he's got going on. This dude is killing it as an expat. Is what I assume his thing is.
Oh yeah,
he just retired to Malaysia for we're not going to ask why.
Yeah, because he went there on business a lot. Yeah.
Nobody in the film can act really well. They're all pretty terrible. They're all like, if they're not children, they're just bad. The one thing in this movie that sticks out to me that I thought was going a certain direction, but then it didn't go that way, is in between all these other chase scenes of Kevin chasing the clown after it kills somebody, we also get these scenes, and these scenes actually usually precede the clown killing someone. We get these scenes of this guy just in his house. Yeah. And he's literally credited as man in the house. He doesn't even have like a good character name, but we get at least 3 scenes of this dude just wandering around his house doing whatever business. And then he's harassed by the clown.
Yeah, he's always just getting drunk by himself and just sweating.
Yeah, just sweating.
Sweating hard. Yeah.
And I thought there was a part of me that thought that this was some sort of metaphorical thing, that the dude in his house was actually just like when he gets drunk, he gets taken by the spirit of the clown.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought he was the clown.
Yeah. But that's not, because he eventually just gets killed. So
by the clown. So just a guy.
Yeah.
Just a guy.
Yeah. It was.
Maybe he was, and he killed himself.
Maybe
as the clown.
It was his final
This movie.
It was his final transformation. I gotta say though, the one scene that just starts with him like laying in a child's bed with his bare feet, and he's on top of the covers reading a magazine about Paris Hilton.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that is
I forgot about that.
That is such a wild mood to be like projecting out to the world.
he went in, he like just went around to doctor's offices and like waiting rooms and was like, I gotta find an American magazine.
Yeah.
And then that was just the first
That's the only one he found. But he's just like, it's just the way he's laying on this bed is just like, you would never want to see like an adult man laying that way in your house. Like if you walked in, you're like, ew, who are you? What are you doing? Like, it would be upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. His man's here to kill me.
And then he just shows you pictures of Paris Hilton. You'd be upset.
My favorite. Want to hear my favorite line?
Sure.
Because I don't know if we're gonna get to it.
Sure.
You know how much I love Italian pasta.
Oh yeah, that's in there. I had it on there, but yes.
So sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No.
I thought we talked about the vacations
we're just jumping.
already.
We're just jumping all over because there's no cohesion to this film.
Yeah,
really,
you
so
don't need to
can
walk
just
through this
bring
one.
it up. Yeah.
I loved that line. I like blurt laughed out loud when he's like, here's some flowers, surprise. And when I'm doing his voice in my head, I'm doing Tommy Wiseau, which is like not, that's how much he reminds me of. And he's like, we're going to Italy. She's like, wow, I can't wait. This is like in a flashback.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know how much I love Italian pasta. As opposed to
yeah.
Yeah, it just reminded me of that
Malaysian
episode
pasta.
of Malaysian pasta. Yeah, well, what I kept thinking of was the there's an episode of Workaholics where they're going to go to some like shitty like trip to Jamaica, and they're looking at the brochure, and there's a place called Pastafaria. And it's like a Jamaican pasta place, and they're super excited. And I just kept thinking about the only alternative to Italian pasta is, of course, Jamaican pasta.
Right.
And then I just chuckled to myself.
Speaking of Jamaican, basically the entire audio of this film is ADR'd. But specifically, there is one character who shows up twice, and he's a Malaysian man, which they've overdubbed with a Jamaican accent. And
is this the arms dealer?
This is the arms dealer,
Yes.
and he
It's
fucking
like a Caribbean thing. Yeah.
and he fucking rolls pretty hard for having that accent for no reason.
Well, because they're on like a beach, right? And he always meets him on a beach. So it's always like the scene where the guy goes and gives the embryos to what's his name in Jurassic Park.
To
Nedry, yeah. Like they're in this like touristy thing. So obviously this is in Malaysia, but like I think he's like, if we were American, where would we be at a resort like this? Oh, it would be in Jamaica. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like Miami, maybe. Like,
sure.
I don't know what he's trying to pass it off as, but like, yeah, he's trying to pass it off as like Miami, or because it would be weird for him to travel all the way to Jamaica to get a gun. When he still is living in the apartment building, but whatever, I don't know.
He's an international jet setter.
Yeah.
Real flyboy on our hands. Speaking of the arms dealer, the means in which he hands off his wares.
Shoe boxes,
So
Amazon boxes.
Yeah. It's the most conspicuous delivery. Because at this point, like, nobody would, like, it's so obvious that he's carrying not shoes in that, but but the cops would never suspect somebody to be that stupid. So I guess it has to be shoes and not a gun. Yeah. It has to be.
It's like he might as well have painted the gun to look like a banana,
right?
You know, and just carried it around. Like no one's going to even second look because they're like, no one's painted a gun like a banana.
Yeah.
Who would do that?
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Like the box should have just said not a bomb on the outside. And
Can't be a bomb then.
Like,
we're good.
Can't be a bomb. Who would carry a bomb?
Who would write that? Who's stupid enough to write that?
Yeah. Who's stupid enough to try and trick us that way? I want to jump to just this happens all the time in the film. But there's a scene in which a woman gets stabbed and Kevin hears her scream because anywhere Kevin is in the world, which for some reason is usually the parking structure.
Yeah. Just walking around.
Yeah. He can hear women dying. So I guess the acoustics, for whatever reason, are really good to hear women dying because he hears that in the parking structure and then runs to the danger with a gun.
like this.
He's
straight
like
out.
Christopher Walken in Dead Zone.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes,
the
to
way
both of you.
yeah. He's like Christopher Walken in Dead Zone, but instead of imagining the future, he just hears people dying from far away.
Right.
But I also do very much like how whenever he's running with a gun, it is fully extended out in front of him.
Yeah, his arm is fully extended. I wanted to bring that up because that's another point I was getting to, is that it's not just him, but in the second instance of this, the cop also apparently hears it, and he goes, "Oh shit," and jumps in his car and seemingly drives away, but actually he shows up in the same place. But when the cop gets out of his car, he also gets out, arm and gun fully extended with no target in front of him. He just runs with the gun in front of him.
Yeah, they're like action figures.
Yeah.
Like it's either at the side or up. They don't have all the points of articulation, you know.
Right.
They only have 5 points. That's all they have.
Points. Yeah. And then it's just like these confusing backwards, runs down hallways with a handheld cam, and usually there's only one person in frame in the running, so you have to assume the other actor in this scene is behind the camera, and they're just switching off as they run back and forth down the same hallway, pointing the gun out in front of them, and it goes on for minutes at a time. And I
was going to say this is the only movie that consistently makes chase scenes boring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Really boring.
They go far beyond where they should. They just keep running and keep shooting, and no one gets hit and no one stops.
No one ever hits anybody. I would say conservatively 30% of this movie is foot chases.
It's 30% foot chases. Every bullet fired in this movie does not hit. And there's actually a lot of bullets fired, and none of them hit anybody.
Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't matter how close, how far,
bad.
who's shooting.
Right.
They are going to miss.
They are going to miss. So there's no point in having the guns in the first place.
And everyone
just for show.
And everyone runs at the same speed. No one ever catches up to anybody.
No. Nope. Because it's that Malaysian architecture. It's so maze-like.
That's right.
Yeah.
The film comes to a head after pretty much everybody else gets killed. The cop gets killed in this scene that we're talking about. He winds up getting stabbed in the neck. And Brian, we talked about like the noises Bruce Greenwood made in Gerald's Game. Those bitch noises as he died.
Yeah.
I think this is my second least favorite way to die, is just with my tongue out with a knife in my neck going,
Yeah, it's not a flattering death. And I actually wrote down, like, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's way more violent than like almost anything that happens. So it kind of comes out of nowhere. But also, Randy Moss, our dude Randy fucking Moss, is acting his tits off in this scene.
He's doing the best that he can. It's just he's not an actor.
He's not, but he's trying so hard, and I love him for it.
Like every scene he's in, he tries. It's just like he doesn't know what he's doing, and like that's the whole theory behind films like this. Is it's the soul of an artist without knowing how to do the art. It's like handing
no skill, no experience.
It's like handing a brush to somebody who's never painted before and said, "Can you reproduce the Sistine Chapel for me?" I'm
going to fucking try. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try.
Yeah. It's just like, and then that person believes in themselves.
Yeah.
He died so bad that I thought he was going to come back later in the movie. And he didn't. He was really dead.
Well, he was super dead. And it's really symptomatic of the fact that this movie is about one person.
Yeah.
And one person only.
One person only.
And it's like these. I'm watching Kickboxer in the background right now. It's like those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. It's like freaking the Fast and the Furious movies later on. This is about one person, and everything that happens to everyone else is about how it affects that one person.
Yes. Yeah.
But he does have a good line before he dies this might have been quite a bit further, but it was the scene you were talking about, Steve, where he hears where Officer Randy Moss hears him from a long ways away and jumps in his car and goes after him. He just hears him and he goes, oh shit.
Yeah, just the way he screams, "Oh shit!" And then, as I said, he drives away, and it seems like he's leaving the scene. So it seems like he was scared by what he like. It seems like trouble's abound. Yeah.
Oh shit! I gotta get out of here.
Yeah. Ah, shit! Another child is dying. Time to leave.
Gotta get out of here. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but that is exactly the. Oh shit! Blast off.
Yeah. Again, it partially it's just so confusing because there's only so many places they can film at. Again, I believe Julian lives at this resort that affords him access to the resort, the resort bathrooms that they film in, that little beach cabana bar they film at, which just to bring up the beach cabana bar real quick, I get horse points on this film because they show like one of the horse tours going down the beach, so I get horse points on this movie.
I bet mine's on a farm. There's got to be horse points.
I never saw
yours was a pig farm. I didn't see no horses.
Ah, you're right. Shit.
Yep. I mean, there might be one or two in the background that I missed. It's just
I don't get any horse
It was
points.
definitely you have no horse points.
No.
You have garbage truck.
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie it's denouement, its grand ending is there's finally a showdown between Julian, Kevin, and the clown.
Mm-hmm.
And the clown pulls out a machine gun.
I love it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I love it. It's so unexpected. I was just like, wait, he has a fucking machine gun? I was just so
That part
confused.
was fun.
It rules so hard.
Yeah.
Especially because it comes down to the two of them just hiding behind pillars doing the I got you, no you didn't, I got you, no you didn't, as they both pop out as the other one stops firing. Nobody's hitting anything, and then they run out of bullets and go back to hand-to-hand fighting again. They've already met in a hand-to-hand fight before, and the clown beat him by kicking him in the dick. So at this point, you would think, don't let him hit you in the dick, but the clown hits him in the dick again and almost beats him again.
When you got a dick like Kevin, I mean, it's hard to keep that thing out of the way.
Fair
It's
enough.
going to absorb blow. It's going to absorb blows,
Yeah.
in more ways than one. Hey, you know what's funny though? Speaking of Kevin getting blown, the absolute lack of genuine feelings he has to other humans is entertaining. Is very entertaining to me. It's like it's not quite Tommy Wiseau, because Tommy Wiseau not afraid to have like a really weird sex scene.
Yeah.
This guy feels like weirdly asexual.
Yeah. He's asexual and emotional. I think like I'm not trying to cast an aspersion that he's some sort of predator, because he does have a bunch of young teenagers in his film.
Yes.
And I think he's aware of that. So that's why he's so distant to any of them.
He makes it super platonic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like he has this one teenager that is like, she's the survivor. She gets kidnapped and he rescues her from like her being captive by the clown, which leads to the trap of the machine gun. And then she's also at the very end of the film in a very funny way of just like she runs up and gives him a hug. I don't want to give away the ending yet though, but his just lack of affection towards anybody just extends to the fact that he's either interacting with the cop, which he doesn't care about, or these teenagers, which he just doesn't feel good about like being sexy towards. Like if he had a Pamela Anderson type, or even a Lauren Compton from Clowntown, if he had one of them, he would have put in a lot of like uncomfortable fucking scenes, I bet.
Probably, but I feel like he wouldn't have known how to make them feel natural.
No.
Like even the scenes with his supposed wife early on, it's like the things that a child would think a couple in a committed adult relationship do, like lay their head on each other's laps,
right,
and go on vacation together. Like he's got this like weird childlike innocence with like here's my analogy. My recipe for this guy is 70% Tommy Wiseau, 20% Michael Jackson, and 10% Michael Scott.
Yeah, that's I love the Michael Scott at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe 20% Michael Scott, 10% Michael Jackson. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just such a, like, he's uninterested in being horny in a way, because like he's it's not like he's ripping his shirt off during this film either.
No.
So he's not necessarily
really,
trying to throw the sex game to the audience. But like, as you're saying, all his scenes with Amy are talking about vacation or doing the very surface things of like, I bought my wife flowers, I asked my wife to marry me.
Mhm.
You know, it's all just like, these are things that you would see just like a kid write in a workbook of like, how do mommies and daddies love each other?
like he shows up every day with like a teddy bear and like a giant box of like heart-shaped box of candies.
Right. Yeah.
Like a cartoon courtship. Yeah.
But that's also part of the appeal. It's part of the appeal to him. And I'm going to check his other films out, I believe, like as soon as I can find them. I don't believe he did any more horror movies though. Like, I think it's a lot of other romance and stuff, but
I just glanced back through and no, I did not notice anything else that felt explicitly horror. And frankly, this is not explicitly horror. This is a crime drama.
Yeah.
With some slight horror elements.
Yeah. I mean, it's like listed as horror on, it's listed as thriller horror on IMDb, action horror thriller. And technically, yes, to all of those. So like he does go out of the way to like put blood on the knife and put blood all over the floor and stuff. So
the sound effects.
Yeah, the guy is a serial killer.
The sound effects when the knife would come out of the, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Shing.
Yeah, it's very Scream-esque in that sense.
And then there's like a lot of sound design of like creepy elements and like ripping off like even like Jaws at some point. So yeah. So like there's horror elements, but it's in no way scary because it's too poorly made to be scary. But this brings us to the ending.
Yeah.
The ending is he has set up an elaborate trap for the clown. He knows he can't beat the clown in a gunfight. He can't beat the clown in a hand-to-hand combat situation, but maybe he can outsmart the clown. And this is what he does. He lures the clown into an auditorium and locks the door behind him, to which the clown discovers there is a C4 bomb, as previously bought from the ADR Jamaican guy. And we cut to outside of the auditorium where Julian Chen delivers the line, "You're done clowning around," and hits the button and blows him up. And that fucking rules so hard.
I wrote, you're not done clowning around. Honestly, a fucking brilliant ending wouldn't change a thing. That's what I was like. This ending, if this movie was whatever you give this movie, you have to take it up 2 notches just because how sick and abrupt and just fucking rad the ending.
You never learn who he is. It doesn't even matter who he is. It doesn't matter why he was doing it.
No.
It's just gone.
Nope.
It's
fuck you. Blow him up.
It's the like it's just like having like a weird tumble routine and then out of nowhere doing a triple somersault and sticking the landing. It's like, what the fuck was that? Where did that come from?
It's like you're out there with one of those little like ribbon dancer things, just like flipping around, and all of a sudden you just do some fucking sick triple backflip, stick it, and then fucking walk off, and everybody's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Yes, and half of your ribbon routine is actually running laps around the mat.
just at like a medium pace, just jogging.
Yeah, people are just like, "What is this? What's going on?"
Like, and everyone's going like, "Your time is up. It's been up for a while."
And then it doesn't matter because at the end you stick that double backflip, and it's great.
And then everybody goes, "What the fuck?
Why'd you do that right off the bat?"
Yeah. So
And then you turn to the crowd and you go, that wasn't for you. That was for me.
It's for me. You see how cool that was? That was me cool.
Yeah. And Steve, I got to imagine, I mean, you saw bits and pieces of this when you committed to the movie, and then the ending, it must have just, like, you were just thrilled with how that decided.
Oh, I was so blown away. Because like I said, I only watched the first 30 minutes before I committed to the movie. So I hadn't seen the whole thing. And then I watched the whole thing in prep for this episode, and like that ending hit me, and I was like, "Oh, I lock this one up. If I get voted against, I'm gonna kill everybody. There's no way you can vote against that.
You're
That's
all
the coolest thing ever to happen."
You can C4 and everybody. This movie, like I said, there was big chunks that were really fucking boring, but it had my attention right off the bat within like the first like 20 seconds because of the girlfriend's little fake ADR giggle. Just was cracking me up. And this, like, you just knew what you were getting into in terms of the just ineptitude because of how unbelievably bad the sound design is. Like you said, most of the lines are ADR'd and you still can't hear half of them. It's just such bad sound design. And then the lighting, it's like every scene either feels like you are in an operating room, just waking up from an operation. So, your like eyes are a little foggy, or there's no lights at all.
Yeah.
You can't see shit.
Yeah. You can't see shit.
Nothing in between.
Cause I mean, he's filming on, 2009, probably earlier tech that isn't, it's not even HD, and the cameras he's filming on at night. So all of that stuff, I guarantee, is like color corrected post to blow up the exposure so it looks all grainy and it's crazy to look at. Yeah, like it is just, he had a handheld camera and just went to town, and it fucking rules because of just, again, it's just a dude doing it. Just another note about the sound design that's really funny is occasionally, every now and then, you catch what the real background audio is, and you just hear like the sounds of the city. Like you kind of have to have headphones on when you're watching it, but like you can just hear like people in the background yelling, like people are having like you just hear the world going on around it.
Yeah.
Like because
you hear like cicada like sounds occasionally. Yeah.
Because like he doesn't have, and this is also something apparent when he's doing a run through the city at one point, and he runs in front of a hotel, and people are just like looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing? Because he didn't have any kind of permits or anything. He didn't hire those extras.
Course.
So he can't lock down sound. He can't lock down a location. He's just doing it as he does it. It's like, yeah, man, that's what you do for $100,000, I guess.
Well, and honestly, I feel fairly confident that if he does live here, he lives there mostly because of that KFC that's two storefronts down.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, I can just imagine him going and eating at that KFC like a ton.
Oh, yeah. And like for sure,
like sitting there all sweaty eating fried chicken.
And for sure that the condo that we start this movie in is his condo. Like he just lives there.
Gotta be.
So yeah.
Gotta be.
He has worked out in that gym where that sad girl hid behind the elliptical for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, he's worked out there and filmed there after hours. But yeah, it's a wonderful film and a testament to, like, if you like Tommy Wiseau's films and if you like Neil Breen, like you'll like a Julian Chien or Julian Chia. Like his stuff is right on par. It's weird. It resembles a movie, but also at the same time it's so very quotable with all the lines that are just very alien of I love Italian pasta, and let's go to let's go to Venice. I love Venice. You want to go to Venice? Then I get you Venice.
It also, like, if you watch this movie, I would be curious what year you thought it was made in.
Yeah.
Because it does not seem like 2009.
No.
It seems like 1999. It seems like at least 10 years earlier.
Yeah. Especially like there's, when the guy's in his house just wandering around and he watches that giant cabinet TV setup that it's like,
he's got like a huge entertainment center with like a little ass tube TV in it. Yeah.
It's like a giant dresser, and it has a TV in it. It just happens to have a TV in it.
Yeah.
So, look, there's no denying that this movie has a clown. The clown juggles. He does a dance. He kills. And those were the prereqs. He does all that.
Yep. He was a killer clown. He killed as a clown.
It's in the title.
There is no denying that. Yeah, yeah.
And he also had a machine gun.
Whether it's a horror movie or not is kind of remains to be seen, but sure.
And he had a machine gun. So,
yeah.
Yep.
It's true.
That's Killer Clown from 2009 on Tubi. Check it out. You're going to love it.
You are going to love it. Please just feel free to fast forward through the chase scenes. You're not going to miss anything. And it's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to keep this thing under an hour.
Or, I mean, it's already only an hour 18, but the, Julian Chia, he's a brilliant filmmaker in that he knew that he should be introducing screen time breaks for his films. He saw it coming.
Wow.
He was
a visionary.
He was,
yes.
Visionary.
Yeah.
He knew in the future people would be in their phones, so he could just, include long ass chase scenes of him running up and down the local storage lockup of Malaysia.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, guys. Killer Clown 2019. Yeah. The big movie with the shitty title. You go out and you find it and you turn it into a modern classic, everybody. All right. Benjamin.
Hey.
Are you ready to talk about some Clowntown?
Yeah. I'm ready. First, I want to make a little disclaimer. As you guys mentioned in the last episode, I'm not used to picking my own movie to defend. So I knew the theme. I knew it was clown stuff, and also, like you talked about, you can dig deep into Tubi, and clown stuff is tough, and I'm not used to digging deep into Tubi, so it's tough. You think you see one good title, you watch the first 3 minutes, and it's just you got to commit. But as Steve will mention, I think I had like 3 different movies that I was like, no, that's not good enough. No, that's not good enough. No, that's not good enough. And this is how I landed on Clowntown. And
the creme de la creme.
Well, no, not that.
No, Brett, Ben, you're supposed to defend your movie. You say yes. Say yes.
I'm explaining my movie. Clowntown looked, when I turned it on, and I looked at Blood Harvest. That was one of my first picks, and I watched a few minutes of that. I'm like, I don't fucking understand what's going on here. This makes no sense. And I saw a lot of clown movies that made even less sense than that. But I couldn't tell Steve I'm going to go back to Blood Harvest. I got to find something else. I've already taken that off the list. So when I put on Clowntown,
you were in a clown crisis.
I was down deep. I was down underground, like
he was clown bad.
past the stratification. Like I was in the clay. I was in the fucking. It was bad. Clowntown on the surface looked really good. I felt like it was filmed well. The colors were good. Like it didn't look like it was filmed just in someone's. Oh God, I watched some bad shit. Like most of it looked like it was just with like a handheld VHS kind of stuff. And this looked like a real movie. It gave me the kind of vibes that I liked. It was kind of a little bit of Hills Have Eyes, kind of like Wrong Turn kind of stuff. And that's what I like. I like that kind of like, we're going to go into this town, clearly, and Clowntown, you can guess by the name. We're going to go into here. It's going to be abandoned for whatever reason. Clowns are going to be there, and then they're going to fucking get us. And it sounded fun. So I committed to it. I told Steve, yes, this is the show that I'm doing. And then I watched it. And it was hard, but I got through it, and you guys got through it, and I think there are a lot of good, fun points to that we can talk about. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think it.
I
I don't
say
think it's terrible. I was actually shocked at how well put together it was.
Yeah,
Considering.
I would agree. I was kind of in the same boat. Listen, this is coming from somebody who has sat down and willingly watched Clownado in a hotel room. And this is light years ahead of that. In fact, I would say if I put all the clown movies I've seen in my life, I would put this in the upper 50%.
Nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Like, I've seen some stinkers.
I think that's what I was figuring out. It's clown movies can be really fucking bad.
See,
hard.
I think what you don't get, Ben, is like all those movies that you shut off that were just filmed on handy cams with a bunch of white walls in apartments.
Yeah.
Brian and I have sat all the way through on those movies. So like, that's why this one goes into the upper echelon, is because like, oh, it's not just filmed in like somebody's, apartment complex. It's actually, like a town, and it has, as you say, it has the colorful cinematography.
Yeah.
And it has multiple clowns with pretty decent makeup for some of them.
Yeah. Right. And
and one clown that is genuinely too scary for this movie, and I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Obviously the stringy haired weird clown.
The one that looks the most like Richard Brake.
He does. I like almost double took the first time I saw it, because he does.
He reminded me, and that's why I said The Hills Have Eyes. He reminds me of the stringy hair old guy from The Hills Have Eyes, the kind of like the grandpa of the clan. That reminded me of him.
The other two clowns, I could take him or leave him. He's fucking great. I'd watch a whole movie based on him.
Yeah.
If he was just the only killer and it was just like random, because the other guys were like, were shit.
Yeah, there was like one like 1930s strong man looking clown. And then there was I don't know how you could even theme the there's mostly three, and then the one girl.
Yeah,
but
I think. Oh, and I forgot there was the girl too. Yeah, she comes and goes.
Yeah, she comes and goes. I think the other one you're talking about is like kind of more of a silent era, almost mime-ish. I thought, I thought he was okay, but the problem is like if you're gonna be a mime, the trick is that you're supposed to do more physicality. Like at that point, you want to do an Art the Clown performance from Terrifier of being super, and like the
animated and cartoonish and shit.
Yeah.
And then the mime in this movie can't even stick to the mime aspect, because there's a lot of times where he's grunting and growling, and it's like, well, you're not even miming. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was the worst.
So we'll start this off. The movie opens with kind of like what they intend to be like kind of the backstory, which you don't learn until later, but it is kind of like how this all starts. It's a young teenage girl babysitting a brother and a sister, putting those kids to bed. She learns that the babysitter before her has disappeared. She doesn't know why. There's nothing else suspicious going in the house. You can kind of see they give you little baby glimpses of clown paraphernalia, but nothing obvious, nothing big, nothing out of the ordinary. She puts the kids to bed. She gets a phone call that there's a train. The parents are going to be coming home late because there is a train crash. The parents are fine. I don't know if they were even on the train, but they're coming. They're still coming home, but there is a train crash, and that kind of is part of the later in. It kind of explains this whole thing. She hangs up the phone. She's going to hold down the fort until the parents come home, and between then and she's dead, she hears some noises throughout the house, and ends up being the brother of the brother and sister that she's watching. He is dressed in a little child clown outfit, and he kills her, and then it kind of stops, and then that's kind of like the backstory to this, and then the movie jumps 15 years in front, and then we're back to present day.
I will say Ricky, the kid, from the beginning, the little boy, and he's not that little.
No, he's
like,
a big boy.
He's like 180 pounds, like 12.
She tries to tickle him, and he's just like, oh, what?
He's a grown ass man. He's way bigger than her. Also, he is providing some very negative vibes right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Everybody in this movie cannot read signals or clues.
Nobody.
Like, everybody is the dumbest they could possibly be and not realize they're in danger.
Yeah. And that you're totally right. I mean, that happens again and again in this movie. People are getting brutally murdered just by like one person in front of a group of like 7 or 8 people. No one fucking does anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, oh.
No, they do a lot of standing around.
I'm gonna miss you
to get killed.
Yeah.
I'm getting the Jean-Claude Van Damme famous dance scene right now from Kickboxer. It's pretty sick. Just to get you guys in the mood of what I'm feeling.
Oh, good.
I have a question, and like you said, you jump into the future, right?
Yeah, we're 15 years ahead of
I'm
time.
sure we're going
now.
to talk about.
Right.
And you got this group of friends, right, that are going to a concert. They're driving to a concert. What concert do you think these douchebags are going to? What is the band that they're going to see?
Jason Aldean.
That sounds. Yeah, you might be.
I was going to say Sublime.
I'm thinking
Sublime. Maybe.
No, they're not stonery enough.
You're right.
They're too much posery.
They do say it's country music.
Oh, okay.
Do they? I missed that.
It's a line towards the end of the film where I think it might be Lauren Comden's character. She's just like, I didn't like country music that much anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
I missed that.
So they never mention what they're going to go see, but just from that, I just assume it's Jason Aldean.
Is she the one who loses the phone?
No, that's dumbass Jill.
You're talking about the blonde girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the blonde. Yeah.
The blonde. All right.
See, I'm thinking 2016, and I'm thinking like a band that was probably more popular in like 2010, but that's why it's coming to some bumfuck town.
Yeah. Well, no.
You know what I mean? So I would.
No, again, you don't get it. They're driving to Cleveland, Brian. So it's a big.
Oh,
it's a big name. So they're probably actually going to go see Kenny Chesney. They're going for that Chesney.
You think they're going to Kenny Chesney weekend?
Yeah, they're going to Kenny Chesney weekend.
My whole thing was they're going to see Kings of Leon. That was my whole thing the whole time. Is these fucking guys are going to see Kings of Leon, and I bet my life on it.
So yeah,
but yeah, you're right. They might be going to Kenny Chesney weekend.
Hell yeah.
They got their Salt Life shirts packed,
absolutely,
flip floppies. They're gonna bury their toes in the sand, boys.
So it's 2 girls, 2 guys. They're going to this concert in Cleveland. We don't know what concert. They're at a diner. She leaves her phone she leaves her phone at the diner. She doesn't know it. They get in the car. They leave. En route in the car, they realize I don't have my phone anymore. Shit. They pull over. She calls the phone. Someone does pick it up, and it's a random ass person. This person says, "Hey,
if you ever want to, you got to meet me in Clowntown. If you ever want to see your phone alive again."
What did they call it? Oh yeah, Clinton. You got to meet me in Clinton. No, just keep going keep going the direction you were going. I'm already there. I got your phone. Come and get it. And
which Clinton is a real town that is a little bit west of Canton and south of Cleveland.
Wow. Fun fact.
Just in case you haven't figured out that the filmmaker is from Cleveland yet.
I probably made funnel cakes in Clinton at some point.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
College. Corn dogs, funnel cakes, something. I'm glad that this did happen because their like drunk stories they were telling each other in the car while they were driving were making me so soft. They were just like, one time I got drunk and wore a funny hat.
Oh my God.
It was just so
I could have definitely used more sex in this movie for sure.
Yeah.
There wasn't
something. I mean, we get boobs. We get some boobies early with the babysitters.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, we're gonna get wet and wild in this movie.
No, you never do. After the babysitter's done, and I will preface this, I did finish a lot of this movie at work on YouTube, so there might be some gory kills that I do not know about, or maybe there was some fucking freaky ass sex shit happen.
Nope.
All right.
Nah.
Nope.
Nah,
You did not miss any of that.
Did not miss any.
But I mean, sticking to Brian's point though, like you think you're going to get wet and wild, and then Lauren Compton shows up, and I'm pretty sure she was a Playboy playmate.
She looked like she could.
Oh,
be.
she looks like it. She's got that vibe for sure.
I think she was. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna double check my work for a quick second, but I'm pretty sure she was in Playboy.
Yeah. And also there were, before we talked about the four people going to the concert, there was a little interaction between two just good old working Ohio guys that were just chilling at the diner. Big day at work. They're just finishing their meals and getting ready to go home. And those are the two dudes that this group of four is going to meet back at this town in Clinton. The four are there to get her phone. The two of them are simply just, the two guys are just taking a shortcut to go home. And they're going to stop and meet at the same place. I believe. How do they meet in town?
Who? The two groups?
The two groups. Well, the four, they stay in town for a while to meet the person with their phone, but that guy never shows up, obviously.
Right. They meet the two rednecks because
we'll call them the rednecks.
And they're having a little episode. Yeah, and then she sees Big Muscle Clown and gets all startled and wanders in the middle of the road, and they pull over and they're like, what the hell are you doing in the middle of the road? Crazy nuts. Yeah, it's pretty flimsy. It's easy to forget.
Yeah.
Just an update. I can confirm that Lauren Compton was in Playboy, and she was in the era of Playboy where they stopped giving a shit about whether or not they showed like hairless beavers. So yeah, there you go. Check it out.
So here's what she got. She got cast because she was a playmate. And then she got there and she was like, I'm moving on from that in my career. And they were like, dang it.
Yeah. It's like, or you don't have enough money for that.
Yeah. Or you're not paying me enough because you're paying me $500 a day and I'm not taking my top off. For that. Yeah.
All right. So we've got the rednecks. We've got the concert goers. They meet in this town. They're in Clinton by design. From clown stuff, and they're all in the middle of the road. This is when the first murder happens. One of the rednecks gets just like, no one gets bludgeoned with everyone somehow gets stabbed with crowbars. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like it's they become some kind of like stabbing implement instead.
Very sharp.
Yeah, they're used by almost in a spear-like fashion. But by who I was referring to as Crowbary the Clown. That's who, in my mind, they all had names, and his was Crowbary the Clown.
Is this the muscle guy?
He just always has a crowbar.
The strong man?
That's the mime.
Well, yeah, the mime's the one that always has the crowbar.
All right. So he gets stabbed. Everyone just is like in shock, and no one moves. And I just thought that was just like that's probably one of like the most ridiculous parts of this movie, where it's literally just one clown at this time stabbing their friend. There is, stabbing a person. There is 5 others around and no one moves. No one does anything. And then they just sit around. And then that's when the scariest of all of them come out, the long stringy haired guy.
With the teeth and stuff. He's pretty gnarly. He is a genuinely threatening clown, which is quite a juxtaposition to the rest of the fucking goof troop that is chasing them.
Yeah. He steps on his head, pours gasoline all over him, lights him on fire, and that just pretty much sets off a long, extended, and painful chase scene through the town, through a junkyard, through maybe an abandoned school. I'm not sure what.
There's a school bus. Yeah, he's like, but it's like we're going to go to a setting and then hide in the most obvious place, and then they're going to find us. And they're like, we'll never look for us in here. There's like just a field with a school bus in it. They just all get in
they
it.
find you. And the only means of help that they do receive is this random, the only regular person we've seen in this town of Clinton so far is this guy named Frank.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank has, I guess he does explain it later. So what Frank explains is that during that train, so this town used to be a train hub, he refers to it as, which I don't even know what that means.
Mm-hmm. It used to be called Train Town before it was called Train Town.
Before it was Clowntown, it was Train Town.
And then all the trains
back in the good old days, the boom days of Train Town.
And then when all the trains were coming to Train Town, they actually just ran into each other and exploded.
Yeah. Well,
and then
Sir Topham Hatt was like, no.
And then after
the
that
great
big
train crash of Clowntown.
And after that big after the big train crash, the train crash in Train Town, it became Clowntown because everyone moved away. There was no no business there, anything else anymore, and everyone left but Frank. And Frank is there.
That's why they call it the great train crash, the great Train Town crash of Clowntown.
It's hard to say. Yeah, it really is.
It's kind of funny that they were prescient enough to predict train crashes being such a problem in Ohio.
In Ohio, I know, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking about
man.
too.
This really hit close to home.
It's really deep.
Never forget. Man, if they would have had like a, the circus had a gorilla named Harambe or something, I would have been balling.
It predicts too much.
Never forget. Dick's out for Harambe.
So Frank has dug his heels in. He's like the only regular person in this town. The rest of it is apparently all clowns. And
it's easy to trust him. He's the only person not wearing clown.
That's all you got. But even then, I felt like these guys were still like strangely aggressive towards Frank. Like that big guy, I called him Big Mike. He was so mad. He wanted to fight him and just find out where his girlfriend went to the entire time.
He's trying to feed you
Please,
beans,
just
Mike.
like
be cool.
Take his word for it. He's cool.
Have some beans, bud. Chill.
Man. You know?
Kings of Leon will be there when you get there.
So they're hanging with Frank. Eventually the clowns, of course, track them down into Frank's hideout, which is maybe like an abandoned school. I'm not sure where it is. It's a larger building. They track him down. They find him. I think one person here gets killed. It really doesn't matter who. They escape.
By the way, Fred has all the best lines.
Who's Fred?
And I would Fred, isn't Fred the old guy?
Frank.
What's his name again?
Frank.
Sorry.
Fred got all the
lines.
lines.
It was an F name. Fred got all the lines. No, Frank got all the lines because one, he's acting his balls off, perhaps even harder than Randy Moss.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's chewing that motherfucking scenery. And he has all the good lines. They're like, what happened to this town? He's like, clowns. It's just a great fucking line.
The big
clowns own this town now.
I got to pay more attention to what these people say.
Yeah. The only problem I have with Frank is that he's acting so hard that he forgets that he's supposed to be Ohio hobo and occasionally slips into pirate. And he just...
I was going to say...
he becomes a bit of a salty sea dog in a landlocked state.
He does get a little briny. You're right. I was going to say he slipped into almost a British accent, but you're right. It's more because I was thinking he was going a little Cockney, but you're right. Yeah. He's going a little pirate.
Yeah.
You leave Frank alone. He doesn't.
When he gets acting,
we like him. He's the only one.
He's doing the best he can.
When he gets cooking,
you heard my clown impression when I got started. I got excited.
When Frank gets cooking, he gets a little little piratey.
Ye be seeing the clowns out there.
Hey, I also, speaking of pirates, my other fun name for the crowbar guy was Tim Dr. Hook McCracken, which from Slapshot, because he's always like trying to take his eye out. But he just passed away, so he's top of mind for me, the actor.
Well, I was just going to say that clown is also just about to die. So eventually the clowns infiltrating Frank's hideout eventually culminates to they chase the rest of the survivors up to the roof. And that's when one of the clowns dies. That guy, the crowbar clown. And they realize that these clowns are not, because up until now you're not really sure if, because these clowns are kind of they're kind of disappearing, they're kind of not, you're not sure what this movie is trying to tell you, but they actually are just people. They're just, and this clown was a server from the diner that they were at earlier and was probably a result. Oh yeah. And then we go actually, and I'll just cut right to that right now. We learn that the clown was working at the diner, and then we also learn later, a little bit later, that the policeman that gave the concert goers directions is actually in on the whole thing, and then he's been trying to cover this up for years now, and so he's been pushing people to this town, I guess, to maybe keep the clowns happy, satisfied. I'm not sure.
Well, he's like, I've been covering up for you since high school. It's like, wait, are you guys just buddies from high school? Is this just like nepotism that you, it's like, I got to cover for my buddy. He's always clown murdering, you know? It's not like your buddy, like I'm a cop and my buddy got a DUI and I'm going to help him get out of it. It's like, my buddy's a clown murderer, so I got to keep putting up for his ass, fixing all his problems.
This is where, like, I feel like I have to look into like kind of the background of the film, the back, you know, what's behind the curtain here? What is the story? Why would he do this? Why would you just keep covering for these clowns? And it starts to feel like that Always Sunny episode where they decide to start distributing patty bucks. It's kind of the same thing because they have lost their train economy, but they don't know how to replace it. And they tried replacing it with clown murder, and they just don't know they don't know where the profit is in it yet. They do the clown murder and they cover the murders up. But then what? How?
And then they got their buddy who tears up all their tickets for clown murder.
Right. And like they put all the cars in the junkyard. They're not making
any cash.
It's like, are they just making money off reselling the phones? Do they drive to Akron and resell the phones?
Oh yeah, it could be.
And also I never mentioned it earlier, but this town still looks beautiful. Like it's still
because it's a functioning actual town.
Picturesque. It's a picturesque town. Yeah.
But one's there.
There's something really specific, and I want people to look out for this. But it's a really specific Ohio thing, and I don't know, maybe it extends further into the Midwest, but buildings that are made of red brick but have these green roofs. Like the roofs are copper green. I don't know what that architecture is. I don't know why the roofs are like that, but it's so specific to Ohio because you can see another one of those buildings in the Funhouse Massacre as well.
Oh. Yeah. I think it's a type of slate roof.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? That gets the like, because it reminds me of like, you see it in like British movies, you know what I mean? With like old houses that have old like slate roofs, like old houses and like old villages. And like just like, I don't know, algae or whatever, but just like gunk be growing on there. And then they like have to wash your roof. Like that's a thing in some of these villages. Like people like wash windows, they wash your roof because it gets all funky.
Yeah, that could be it.
It's just something I've noticed. It's a very Ohio thing that like their public buildings are red brick and then green roofed. And it's like, what are you guys doing there? What is that? What are you up to?
What are you guys doing? What are you doing?
What are you up to?
Am I? So I wrote this down, Ben, and unless I'm mistaken, is the old stringy-haired clown? Is that Ricky?
Yeah.
Yes, that's Ricky.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, Ricky's had a tough life because Ricky just 15 years ago
His
was
mom looks fantastic.
Yeah, his mom. She's great. Ricky, if Ricky is 27, that there's just no way, because it reminds me of that joke in Elf where he's down in the mailroom and he meets the guy who gives him the booze and they get drunk in the mailroom and he dances on the table and all that. Remember the guy he's working with in the mailroom and is like, I'm 25 and I got nothing to show for it or whatever. And the joke is he clearly is much older than 25.
That's what,
if Ricky is supposed to be 27 in here, he's conservatively 55.
a hard thing. Yeah, he doesn't look good. But also, there was a quick mention. We briefly talked about the girl clown that was in this posse and she kidnaps. We didn't talk about that a lot, but she does they kidnap one of the girlfriends, and this girl clown paints makeup on her, and she mentions ponies. The girl clown does, and Ricky's sister in the first scene also talks about how much she loves ponies. So I'm assuming then that girl clown is supposed to be Ricky's little sister.
Oh, you might be right.
I would assume that as well.
Yeah.
I didn't think that. And I didn't think that's where you were going. I thought you were begging for horse points. But I honestly,
I should have begged for horse points too.
But you're right. I didn't even think about that. I think you're right. I think that was supposed, because at the end, they're the ones who walk away together. They're the two clowns that survive, even though Ricky's gut shot. Also, let's be straight up. 12-year-old Ricky was extra husky. He did not end up losing weight in 15. Going from the age of 12 to 27, he didn't end up weighing less at the age of 27.
No. I'm worried about Ricky. I'm worried about him.
Worried about Ricky.
Just for a little idea about the impossibilities of Ricky's age being 27, the actor who plays him, David Greathouse, he's usually a special effects guy. And so he's done a lot of special effects, including the Funhouse Massacre. But he got his start in 1993 on a little Andrew Dice Clay vehicle known as Brain Smasher, a love story.
I've not seen that.
So the fact that he's old enough to have done the prosthetic makeup on that and Kickboxer 4 back in 1994, the fact that he's old enough to do the prosthetic makeup on those films, and now it's 2016, tells you there's no way he's 27 anywhere close.
He's 60 if he's a day. Yeah. In 2016.
Ricky.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Ricky, you ain't Ricky.
So to total all up, like when I watched the movie, I watched the first 5 minutes, I'm like, all right, this looks really good. I think this could be a great movie. Committed to it. Watch the next 15 minutes, like, oh fuck, this is not going to go well. And then when I sat down again, really took my time, went the whole way through, not that bad, kind of fun. I didn't hate it in the end. Is it going to be my favorite movie out of the three that we watched? No, but better than I thought it was going to be. Clown movies are tough.
Clown movies are tough. There's a lot of shit to skim through, but I will tell you, I watch worse movies than this every single week. So like, this is not, this was perfectly enjoyable for me. Good. It's not something that's going to stick in my brain, but I thought it was perfectly enjoyable. The thing that'll stick with me about this movie is the two potential spin-offs that are just begging to be made, which is Clown Diner.
Yeah.
Come on. Clown Diner. Killer Clown Diner. And also, I'm sure this exists, but I've not seen a good version of it, which is clown camp. Why don't we have clown camp? Because they have a camp.
Yeah.
You know, they're out in the woods. They're doing a little camping. This is their clown hangouts just out in the woods.
Right.
Just a fort.
And like when they go out there and they have like the final battle in clown camp, it's the worst part of the movie. It's like we're experiencing like Plan 9 level shambling
yeah.
with,
We didn't have to
everybody
talk about
involved.
that.
But it did make me think like, guys, why don't we have clown camp?
Because
There probably is. There's no way
I mean,
it doesn't exist,
that's a real common thing, especially from the early days of the traveling circuses and carnivals. Of like, they would just pull into a field with all their trailers.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
they're not paying
yeah.
for a KOA. Fuck that. They're just going to hide out in the woods like the dirty carnies they are and do drugs and butt fuck. So, yeah,
Butt fuck. Goddamn, I didn't know that.
yeah, that's what they do.
That went into Steve. That like we just got a little glimpse into Steve's like clown fanfic. We're like, you know, do clown stuff like, you know, balloon animals, squirt each other with flowers on their shirts, butt fuck each other.
Butt fuck. My only big problem with this movie is that it's just pretty unremarkable. Like,
Yeah.
the acting is ass, but you can cover up ass acting with, you know, the nice colors and the character design. But there's no, like, the violence and the special effects are so tame and meaningless.
Yeah,
and
right.
like
Mhm.
there's not a single kill you'll remember
No.
from this movie that
None of
you'll
them.
want to tell people about. So
Setting somebody on fire. They didn't show anything
Right.
really, so it wasn't great, but it set you up for, ooh, this is going to be kind of a mean movie.
Well, like the introduction of him dragging the baseball bat that's on fire through the gravel, like, that's kind of a cool visual.
Yeah.
But then like there's
Mhm.
nothing that ever happens. Like even in Blood Harvest, when she puts the pickaxe through Gary's arm, like that's an effect that's better than anything you see in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And like that movie is incompetently made by Bill Rebane. So yeah, it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
awful.
it's one of those films like I'll probably never recommend it, but it's funny how unbad it was. I was
Yeah.
expecting a real train wreck of something called Clowntown.
Me too. Yeah.
Um,
And that
Mhm.
it was a learning experience for me. Like I you know, and now I understand more about the potential for clown movies and what you have to look for and also what to avoid.
yeah.
I would say clown movies are, in terms of the pitfalls associated with this subgenre, it is surpassed only by shark movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
In terms
Yeah,
of just like the absolute amount of shit that is out there.
And maybe Amityville movies. Amityville movies, I think.
Oh,
So here's the thing. Shark movies, they have pinnacles of like Jaws and open water. Like
Mhm.
Amityville movies don't have pinnacles like that. Their best pinnacle is the first movie ever. And the second,
and then all the rest are dog shit.
and then
pretty
everything
much.
else is substandard. Like I think maybe the second one is also pretty good, but that's about it.
I don't know if I've ever seen the second
one's
one, to be honest
okay.
with you. But
Yeah, just looking into the background of this film is like there's production into this film that they share a lot with the Funhouse Massacre, and also there's a producer, Robert Kurtzman, who I think is who was part of the K&B effects, wasn't he? Robert Kurtzman.
yeah, I believe he was.
Robert
yeah.
Kurtzman's a producer on this.
He's the K.
Yeah, so he was a
Never
producer
heard
on this,
that.
as well as I believe his son's involved in this film as well. So that's why it looks
Mm.
and is produced as good as it is.
Mhm.
But I'm still kind of shocked, like the special effects fall because of that.
Yeah. Surprising.
Yeah.
But
All right, boys. That was, of course, the classic 2016 Clowntown. Guys, I'm getting into a flicky here. And I am going to say at the top, I'm not going to get too deep into the production of the movie, because that in and of itself is a whole kind of rabbit hole that you can go down. And frankly, if you ever watched this on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. He does a much better job of going into the production and all the weirdness and everything that is, Tiny Tim and all that stuff. So I won't go into a ton of it, but it's wildly interesting. But I want to talk more about the movie here. 1987. We're talking about Blood Harvest directed by, like you said, Steve, Bill Rebane. The giant spider invasion, this movie, Blood Harvest, Twister's Revenge, right? These are some of the movies that you may be familiar with when it comes to Bill's work. I mean, this guy is definitely known for schlock. Not an enormous set of directing credits, but you can tell by the titles of some of these. Honestly, I haven't seen a ton of his movies. Steve, are you aware of any other work of his?
Not outside the ones you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If there's anything else, I've seen Twister's Revenge. I mean, that's famously horrible.
Yeah, like Twister's Revenge was featured on Red Letter Media, and obviously Giant Spider Invasion. Like that's probably my favorite Mystery Science Theater episode.
Oh,
like it's so wonderful.
That's the only one I've ever seen. Oh, he also directed Monster A Go-Go.
Oh, okay.
Did not realize that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Which is also a MST3K, I believe, movie as well. And then
I don't remember that.
Did they do that on MST, or maybe that was on whatever, the after MST3Ks, the people who went off and like Mike and all that. What's it called?
Riff Tracks.
They do the Riff Tracks.
Yeah, I didn't see the Riff Tracks.
Riff Tracks.
Yeah. Also, the other famous thing, because Twister's Revenge was featured on Red Letter Media, it coined the phrase, like they used that to coin the phrase "shoot the rodeo," and "shoot the rodeo" means like shooting. Like in Twister's Revenge, there's just a rodeo that's happening in Wisconsin, and Bill Rebane said, "I'm going to use this to get as much production value in B-roll as I possibly can out of it." And so Bill Rebane is kind of known for just doing that, just doing the most with as little as he has. And that's also kind of how Tiny Tim got involved with this movie, because Bill Rebane just approached him at a state fair or some shit and said, "Hey, be in my movie."
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know who Tiny Tim is, he's a really bizarre kind of anomaly in and of himself, like an entertainer.
Because I did not know who Tiny Tim was before you started talking about him.
Really? Yeah. So he's a really interesting guy. He's got a really interesting backstory. Like I said, I don't want to waste a bunch of time talking about it. That'd be a waste, but like, he's actually not that huge of a part of this movie, weirdly enough. But he's a musician / comedic performer kind of thing. But he's a really interesting human being as well. Definitely kind of suffered, I don't want to speculate too much, but seemingly suffered from some kind of mental illnesses as well. But he was also very self-aware of his persona as a weird guy, going all the way back to like the Ed Sullivan Show and stuff he would be on. He would guest on it. He always had really long, wavy black hair. He's a very unique looking guy, and he would oftentimes speak in this and sing in this very interesting, like vibrato-y falsetto voice. Tiptoe Through the Tulips is probably the song he's most known for. But he sang a lot of these like old time, like folky songs. So I don't mean like a 70s Karen Carpenter style folk singer. I mean like public domain type of songs, like Camptown Races type of songs, right? And as a human being, he had like a encyclopedic knowledge of songs. And he just had this enormous repertoire of songs that he would play on the ukulele and the harmonica and all these different instruments. But he also was a tremendously talented vocalist. He actually has like a really impressive voice. I want to say baritone, but I don't, I'm not an expert, so I don't know if that's actually what it was. But he has this really deep, really amazing, like almost opera quality voice. But he has this insane vocal range that he can also sing in this super high falsetto.
Because that's
So
all
he's
I
like
heard. That's all you hear in this movie is just him in this super high falsetto.
Yeah, he sings a little bit early on, and you might not even recognize that it's him singing in this deeper voice, but his natural singing voice is very deep. He's a big guy, right? Yeah, he was kind of slighter and like scrawnier and very Edward Scissorhandsy looking when he was a younger man. But he is he's very bizarre, and he acts in this kind of very bizarre way, and that's what people know him as. He has no acting talent at all. He's a tremendously bad actor, and there's a lot of really kind of fun behind the scenes stuff of like how difficult it was for him and how nervous he was to act, because it's just not his natural, mode of performance. But it starts out, you get him right off the bat. And you could tell they went and got him. And like you said, director wanted to get a name associated with it, some production value for a relatively small amount of money. So they work him in as much as possible, but you can tell they try to keep him away from having to act with other people as much as he can, and just keep him to doing the things he was relatively comfortable doing, which is singing songs and doing little quick monologues and stuff like that. But you get him right off the bat in full clown makeup, singing a song, and he is bleeding a dude like a dang old hog. He's got him hung up, and he slits his throat, and he's bleeding him. So, getting back to your comment before, he is a killer clown. He's shown killing somebody right off the bat, but
right.
You don't. It may or may not be real. It may or may not have happened. We'll get into it a little bit later on, but in any case, you get all this. They do a decent job of like kind of show don't tell a little bit, I guess, where you're like seeing these, but then they end up telling you later. But they end up, and listen, I'm not even going to try to defend the filmmaking or the script in this movie. It's horrible, but this whole movie is weird and dreamlike and fucking creepy, and also like kind of sleazy and mean too.
Oh, yes.
Which is also what I like
and
about
sexy.
it.
Don't forget sexy as hell.
Not sexy.
Weird in a weird sleazy way. I like it.
She
Yeah,
doesn't
I like
wear
it.
pants the entire movie.
Oh, it's so you're getting me all riled up here. So here's what happens, right? There's some farms are being auctioned off. People are pissed, whatever. Jill, who's the main protagonist, she's got a top ponytail. So that just gives you kind of where we're at here. She's talking, about her mom and her dad, and there's all these foreclosures on the farm. We learn her dad is a representative in some capacity of the bank, and people were pissed because the bank's foreclosing on all these people's farms in this rural community. Jill can't find her parents. She stops in their office. They're not there. She's starting to figure out something bad might have happened to her. Not coincidentally, the guy who's hanged upside down with his throat cut in the opening sequence kind of looks like a bank guy. He's wearing bank guy clothes, like suspenders and stuff like that. So her dad was probably poor piggy.
Which I'll point out is not killed by Tiny Tim. It's killed by the killer. Tiny Tim does not kill anybody.
They very much set up that Tiny Tim is the killer the entire time. So for all intents and purposes, until the last final reveal, the intention of the director was this to be a killer clown movie.
But the problem is, okay, so the first two shots, the first back-to-back edits, they work because it's Tiny Tim by himself singing, and you don't see where he's at. And then you see the rope pulling on a pulley, lifting the guy. And immediately you assume Tiny Tim is about to hurt this guy.
That's what they're trying to set up for.
When you see the guy cut his throat, he's very clearly in an army jacket with black driving gloves. And
Steve, he's in a mask. How can you tell? He's in a killer costume.
It doesn't matter. He's not dressed
modern,
like
this is an American Giallo film.
This is not
Steve,
a clown.
This is an American Giallo film.
This is not a clown. I'm okay with it being an American Giallo film, but it's not a clown.
Guys, these guys clowns. They're in show business. They do quick costume turns. Anyway, she's she stops and she talks to her friend Sarah. The only reason this matters because we do meet Sarah earlier. Sarah is a hooer. That's pretty much what they set her up to. Is like, here's her slutty friend who's going to get killed. It's very 1987. She goes home. And there's just a bunch of not cool stuff happening at the house. So she's visiting from school. She's coming to her childhood home. Her parents aren't there. She doesn't know where they're at. She's confused. She goes in. There's stuff painted in what looks like either red paint or blood all over the house. Says, get out, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. Goes in. There's somebody breaks a window with a brick. There's like a dummy being hanged in like effigy of her father, assumedly, in the house. Like shit's just not cool. She calls the police. Anyway, you also see Tiny Tim in his clown outfit walking around outside. He comes in, introduces himself as the marvelous Mervo. Oh. He's Merv. Merv lives next door. There's two brothers, you come to learn, who live next door. Merv is one of those. Gary is the other brother. Gary was Jill's childhood sweetheart. So Gary and Merv are brothers. The marvelous Mervo says, I brought you flowers, Jill. It's so creepy. And like the ineptitude of the performance, just like your guy, Steve, where we were like, had this weird affection for him because he was so clueless. Tiny Tim is so worried and sweaty and anxious on screen that it actually works better for the performance.
It does.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
He's terrifying. And also, like, he's a big guy. So imagine a guy wearing just a regular old flannel shirt, and then everything else is clown stuff. And his face is painted. He's got long, stringy hair. He's sweaty. He's like, looks like he's going to have a heart attack at any moment. It's terrifying.
And then he introduces himself as Mervo, which rhymes with Pervo.
That's true, too. I didn't even make that connection.
He is a Pervo.
Yeah, and he's weird and everybody. He's always just bringing weird vibes around. Jill is kind of entertaining because she knows him. She knows Merv from childhood. Mm-hmm. But then Gary shows up, and Gary just looks like such a fucking Gary. He's just wearing like a sweater with like a white like Oxford shirt underneath, and he's just like got that hair, that like Kevin McAllister hair. He's just a straight up dweeb. Kind of like Pretty Boy, but yeah, kind of dweeby. We'll talk more about Merv in a little bit, but you just think that you don't necessarily think he's going to kill somebody on screen. You think he's going to kill somebody on the set of the movie. Like, you know what I mean? You feel like danger for the people who are in the production, you know? Like he's in a different movie than everybody else. It's going to be like a fourth wall breaking thing. And he's going to murder like one of the camera people or like the gaffer or something.
Get that fucking microphone out of my face.
Yeah, he's just going to stick. Well, and there's stories about it. I actually know somebody who ran into him at O'Hare Airport.
Oh, okay.
And he was like having a full-on episode because he missed his flight. He was like screaming. Everyone was staring at him. They like he had some issues, right? He had rage issues, and yeah, he's just a wild guy. I will say one of the big things that I love about this movie too is the music. Mm-hmm. It's this like melodramatic type of like hypnotic, oddly scary music, and it oftentimes seems inappropriate for what's happening on screen. Jill just inexplicably goes into the woods and is being stalked by a bunch of guys in camo before they shoot her in the head, and then it's like, JK, it's red paintball. Seems like a weird like unnecessary scene.
But that whole part was weird.
It's a means by which to get her to town to show that she doesn't have a car, I guess, because a bunch of, it's just a bunch of like local yokels that she knows from high school. And one of them's got actually a sick ass truck. And he's like, we're going to give you a ride to town, and then hits on her and whatever. That's why she went in the woods, I guess. Yeah.
This movie loves doing fooled yas for a good amount. It's just like, fooled ya. Oh, you thought somebody was in danger. Fooled ya. Not now.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, shot right between the eyes? Nope, paintball, JK. Well, and also, it actually, the first time I watched this movie, this is probably the third time I've seen this movie. The first time I watched it, I was like, wait, what? Because I didn't realize paintball existed in the 80s. Like, I feel like paintball was invented in 1995 for some reason in my head.
Yeah. Thinking about it, I do too.
Yeah. But so we have the sheriff, who's a real character. He's always wanting to do anything but sheriff.
Hell yeah.
Softball, playing cards, whatever.
Softball's big.
Playing poker.
Big softball guy. Playing cards, right. And the actor doesn't know what sarcasm is, so he doesn't know how to communicate it like on screen. But Jill just goes off on him, and Jill like has a great she's good at acting one thing, which is, well, two, mean or naive. She is not good at acting scared or sad.
No.
Those are not her strengths as a performer. In fact, we'll get to it. She has one of the worst cry scenes I think I've ever seen in film. Like, it's atrocious. Her Jill's family are still missing. And Jill comes back with the sheriff, and then the house is all cleaned up. Like, the window's not broken, nothing. And she's very freaked out. Merv is like singing hymns on an altar saying like, why are they all dead? Like, they're really setting up that Merv is the killer. We get a cat jump scare, which is worth 10 points. Gary comes in, is like, I cleaned up everything and replaced the window. And she's like, oh, you silly twat.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
It's such a weird thing to do. So now the sheriff thinks she's a liar, right? So now there's been some dispersions cast on her credibility. Gary is just like trying to take her mind off her worries. They'll go for a walk, quote unquote walk up to the treehouse to play some Gene Jam, I guess. And we get this story about how Gary and Merv's parents were murdered. They were hung in the barn, which is classic murder tactic, hang somebody in the barn. And that's why Merv is bonkers now.
Right.
So Jill is saying she's dropping out of school. Gary is like, oh, you're going to stay here and we're going to be in love forever, because Gary still has a thing for Jill.
Oh, yeah.
And Jill's like,
it's what he's always wanted.
Yeah. And Jill's like, nah. I'm engaged. I'm leaving school because I'm engaged, which obviously Gary's super bummed about. We keep getting these wild cut scenes and interludes of Merv just like I said, singing, doing little bits. And his teeth are so gray. And it's so unnerving. And it makes me think of, I think you should leave. Or no, I think you should leave. What's the freaking, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared?
Oh, yeah.
Or Don't Touch Me, I'm Scared,
Yeah,
or whatever it is, where he's like,
Oh, yeah.
Don't hug me, I'm scared. It's like talking about don't eat this because your teeth will turn gray.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking of that every time I see of Merv's gray teeth.
I mean,
we do get full front.
It's never helped when you have white contrast and white and red contrasting that, because it just makes it pop even worse. And it's just like
it adds so much to the character. Honestly, his teeth are so gray. We do get full frontal Jill, and we get a lot of Jill boobage.
Oh, so much Jill.
And crotch shots and just a lot of naked Jill. I'm going to say this in the most delicate way. Jill has a strong bush. Is that an appropriate way to say it?
Yep.
I was going to say it's actually not
quality
that
bush.
It's not that strong, because it's just kind of like a big landing strip. It's not like the giant triangle that goes all the way to the hips.
But it's a tall landing strip.
I don't mean large. I mean quality.
Yeah.
Is what I meant.
Yeah.
Just a quality one.
I'll say, though, if you're ever wondering about when people say films are made with the male gaze, it's this film.
Oh.
It's this film.
Yes.
Like, there are plenty of scenes of Jill being naked, but also anytime Jill's not naked, Bill Rebane is also putting the camera where he shouldn't. There's a fucking scene where she's doing ballet by herself without any pants on, and Bill has picked the most graphic angle you could film a woman from who is still
it's
clothed.
like if
shots. Yeah.
if my arm is her leg,
Right.
camera is in my arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He's doing a lot of crotch shots.
Yeah.
It's gratuitous. It's gratuitous.
And that's what people mean by the male gaze. They mean this movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, 100%. And there's a lot of like, we get a scene with Merv again, like making her coffee. It's just some really creepy, tense scenes with Merv and Merv the perv and Jill.
This movie had a lot of like weird, sexually tense, creepy scenes for me.
Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And they get even worse. They get even worse as you get on. So I'll jump ahead. You get just more Merv creeping around outside, whatever. Eventually Scott shows up, who's her fiance. And she keeps getting scared and horny mixed up. Jill.
Yeah.
It's
flip-flop.
again, it's concerning. It's concerning. Anyway, there's a scene that's supposed to be really tense with Merv outside, her on the phone with Scott. It's not really. But when she's sleeping that night, this is before Scott actually shows up, I guess. She just talked to him on the phone. But somebody comes in and chloroforms Jill, which is like a reoccurring thing. And then like strips her down and takes like naked pictures of her. It's real uncomfortable. And it's from, again, just an angle that's just like less than optimal.
Real gritty.
Yeah. Then the next morning, she just wakes up after being chloroformed, which I feel like probably like not feel that great the morning after being chloroformed.
Yeah.
But she wakes up. If chloroform really worked like that, it would put Ambien out of business.
For
Like,
sure.
Yeah, I would do it every
wakes up-
night.
Yeah.
She wakes up refreshed and ready to face the day.
Remembers nothing.
Yeah. Remembers nothing, too.
Yeah.
Yes, that's important.
Does not remember
She
that
just
she got
wakes up
chloroformed.
Doesn't remember anything. Just is like, I must have fell asleep with the lights on. Scott just bops in. And she's like, you fool. He's like, are you happy to see me? She's like, I'm so pleased. Like, this Jill doesn't talk like that. Like, I just met the character of Jill. She doesn't talk like that. But Scott is Peter Krause in his screen debut, which I don't know what you guys, what is the thing you would know Peter Krause from? I forgot to write it down.
I would know him from
News
nothing.
Radio. Was he News Radio?
Sports Night.
Sports Night. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I vaguely remember not laughing at Sports Night a whole lot.
Yeah. They pushed it hard though. That was a big network sitcom that they really tried to push,
Yeah.
but I don't think it lasted.
I remember it being like in constant reruns on Comedy Central, and I'm like, I'm not laughing a lot at this. I don't get it.
No, I don't think it was a good show, but I remember him from that. You'll recognize his face even as a spry young boy here. But they do get down to the business of fucking pretty quick, and Gary's just creeping, just like his fucking sicko brother Merv. They're just always creeping around the house, looking through the windows and shit.
Do you think Merv had true like sexual feelings and vibes towards Jill?
I think you're meant to think that here, but I think at the end you're meant to think that no, he was just trying to protect her from, spoiler alert, Gary.
I think it's just a general horniness because like he's so like weird and sheltered, and like they do share that one scene where like because
he did touch her a little bit.
and he gets like awkwardly close, like he's gonna kiss her, and she's like, no, Merv, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't get down like that, weirdo. And he's like, but when can I be happy? Like he's like Shakespeareanly lamenting to the idea of his own happiness. And it's great because it's so fucking weird, but also she's like, yeah, man, I don't know. I feel bad for you. It's
very Shakespearean. He's holding up the Hamlet pose, like he's doing the whole thing.
This movie is like 50 Shades of Incel. Is what like there's so many fucking, there's so many fucking
Every
bad,
dude
yeah.
is an incel of some sort.
Yeah, there's so many just bad dudes of varying degrees. Like Tiny Tim just like not understanding social cues. And then Gary is like the full on I deserve it incel, and Scott's
He's full on Andrew Tate.
yeah. And like, well, I would say Scott's Andrew Tate. Like Gary's more of an Andrew Tate follower, and like he's never actually done
Okay, yeah,
anything. He just thinks he deserves it because he's like, I did a favor for you, now I get sex. Yeah.
It's transactional.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
And then
right.
there's just the regular
He's the guy trying to apply Andrew Tate logic to his miserable little
right,
life.
yeah. And then there's just like the general misogynist town who just calls you up on the phone and says, fuck you, bitch.
It's just like, this is a tough place to be a woman in this town. It's
This
a
is
tough,
hard.
tough spot. It's
I don't
rough.
blame Jill at all for what she did. Not at all.
No, things
No.
are rough around here. You know why Jill got the fuck up out of here. But Gary has, his face should be a meme. Him looking through the window at Scott and Jill. Him, it should be a meme of that should just have cock stamped on his forehead. Like he's just cocking it through the window so hard. He's just
what a
like, he literally has like furrowed brow, tears, frown face. Like it's just so pathetic.
Cuck life.
Cuck life.
Yeah, he's living that cuck life. Peter eventually goes on a beer run and sees somebody skipping past, whatever, goes after him in the barn, and then just gets fucking bambinoed right in the face with an aluminum baseball bat, which is a great scene. Just thumps him.
Looked like it really fucking hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good effect.
Yeah.
It's not gory, just like a little bit of fake blood, but it's just a good effect. Gary walks in on Jill doing her, half naked ballet that you talked about. We get this other Merv scene, and he says something about Jill's dad being responsible for his parents' death. And then he like sings songs and whatnot. So we're just kind of hammering that home. Sarah stops in and just to like talk shit, I guess, goes to leave, and someone chases her to the barn with a bow and arrow.
I love that.
And then
scene.
shoots her through the hand, and her hand gets pinned to the wall. Great scene. Just and then he just fucking brutalizes her, like rips her clothes off, hangs her up by her feet, and slits her throat. Like it's a really jarring scene.
Yeah.
Like it's very violent. It's very like Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Like it's
Mhm.
fucking kind of
And
brutal.
she's not naked, but you can see through her bra.
Yeah.
And it was weird for me to see a semi-naked body hung upside down like that.
And she's like struggling. It's not like like the performer. She's doing a really good job.
Yes,
She's
she
not
did.
doing the like, I'm a damsel in distress. Oh,
No.
don't kill me. I'm too sexy. She's like struggling and like breathing heavy, and
it was heavy.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah,
guys
it's rough.
think that this film inspired Terrifier?
I could absolutely see that. This movie has been cited as like, I think this movie in the 90s, I remember hearing about this movie in like the mid 90s as like this movie's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't see it until honestly like 5 years ago. But I remember as a kid hearing about this movie and being like, this movie's fucked up, but you like really couldn't find it. So I could see that. I feel like there are movies that have become more tame with time, whereas people aren't really, because it isn't super gory. I mean, it has some gory parts, but because it isn't super gory, people don't really think about it in that way anymore because just so much worse has come along. But at the time, this movie, movies like Alice, Sweet Alice, and stuff like that, who that were creepy and grimy and kind of progressive in that sense that they were like, we're going to make the worst parts of this, like the kind of psychological parts.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Have like fell out of fashion at some point, but definitely influenced a generation of filmmakers.
Yeah. It's just because you're like, you watch this and you see the woman hung upside down, and then there's the clown stuff, and it's like, it's not far to just put that together, and then Damien Leone just says, "Oh yeah, what if he just cut that woman in half though? That would have been crazy." And then he puts it in his own film of cutting a woman in half, hung upside down by a clown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I could see, I could definitely see him being a fan of this type of movie. Maniac and New York Ripper and all those. Like, I feel like these all kind of fell around that same time and influenced the same type of filmmakers. Anyway, yeah, Jill doesn't hear any of this because she's blasting Enya in her fucking room. But this is when Jill. Yeah, this is when she delivers the worst fake cry in film history. She's just like, everyone's disappearing. I'm so scared. And she just sits there and has this cry that is just painful. Paul gets the piggy treatment too, as you might expect, after he got beamed with a baseball bat. They're trying to set up Merv as the killer, but like Steve alluded to, they keep showing the killer with a stocking over his face. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they didn't initially anticipate putting this much of the killer on the screen, but they're showing him with like a bigger jacket and a stocking over his face. But he's got a completely different body type than Tiny Tim. And it's just very clearly Gary.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah, there was,
like,
and
it's Gary's face in a stocking. That's all it is. But they're like, wonder who this killer is, this secret killer.
Yeah.
It's just
if that's truly what they were thinking of at this point. Like, I know nothing about horror movies to the extent that you guys do. There was never a point in this movie where I was like, oh, it must be. Is it Tiny Tim? It must be Tiny Tim. He just changed clothes and put a stocking cap over his head.
Well, this is honestly, I remember the first time I watched this like 5 years ago, and I remember thinking they're making it too obvious that it's Gary, so it obviously isn't Gary.
Right.
So I was a little surprised that it was Gary.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be the cop.
No, I
wasn't. Because I was like,
I wasn't surprised at all because it was a Bill Rebane film.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like. I remember the first time I watched this, I just flipped it on, and I was like, okay, this is they're really setting up Gary as like it's obviously Gary, and then so it has to be somebody else, right? Nope, it's Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Jill gets chloroformed again, and just carried to the barn, and then which is stupid. But then the killer like tries to have Paul watch while he like assaults Jill. And it's really uncomfortable, really grimy. And then he hears sirens and like quickly takes her back in the house. And like she's back in the house. The cop walks around and leaves, and like Jill just wakes up on the couch with zero straw on her. Like,
yeah,
it's just like nothing.
Again, fresh as a daisy.
Yeah. And Paul, he had bled Paul out into the old hog bucket, right?
You mean Scott?
His blood. Scott. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
You started.
Who the fuck is Paul?
I don't know. You started calling him.
I
Peter.
just started calling Scott Paul at one point. I called him. Yeah.
You called him Peter by his actor name, and then you started calling him Paul, and now everybody's lost.
I think I'm thinking of Paul from Halloween, probably at this point. Every just nameless, stupid boyfriend is Paul. Anyway, Scott gets bled into the hog bucket, and then whenever she wakes up from her chloroform nap, she's like, I require a beverage, and she walks in, and the hog bucket jumps out of the fridge and splashes all over, and I'm like, what kind of fucking booby trap was that? I don't know how they figured that out, but she's just slip sliding all over the ground, in the blood, and then Gary comes in and she's like, this when things start to really, you just kind of don't understand what's happening at all, because Gary comes in and she was apparently so traumatized by the blood spilling on her, even though she grew up on a pig farm. I mean, yeah, obviously unpleasant. Nobody wants to go in to get a fresca and gets covered in pig blood, but like she's traumatized by this. So much so that she goes almost into this like weird comatose state where Gary bathes her while she's in shock. And I don't know. Gary keeps his shirt on in the shower, but it like takes her shirt off and it's like rubbing her boobs, and then just like pops her back on the couch, butt ass naked, and then just sits there and thinks about it for a while and is like, I'm going to perform rape. Just like very matter of factly stands up, takes his clothes off, like sucks on her boobs for a few. It's really wild.
It's so gross,
really
man.
uncomfortable.
Like it's it's hard.
This is another scene where that soundtrack comes into play as well, because like he starts kissing her and the music has kind of that light romantic tone to it, and
yeah,
like
it's almost a Twin Peaksy type of soundtrack.
Yeah, a little bit, and like
melodrama, soap opera-y.
It starts nice as he's kissing her on the shoulder, but then as soon as he kisses her on the boob, it fucking like switches to like real menacing. Like it's still the same. It's still the same song, but it just goes down a couple tones into menace, and it's just like, I don't care for watching this.
And
very uncomfortable.
She also like embraces it in a really uncomfortable way too. Like she doesn't know what's going on. She just wants comfort at this moment.
Yeah.
And she just
she's half chloroformed and she thinks it's Scott.
Oh, I forgot she was half chloroformed. Yeah.
Yeah, she thinks it's Scott 'cause she's like, Scott. And then she realizes it's what's his dick? It's Gary. And then she's like,
Gary.
Yeah, and then she's like, stop. His little no ass have an ass just is like on top of her. And she's like, wakes up and she's like, no dice, Gary. And Gary takes it surprisingly well. He's like, oh, my bad. Like, he's not like,
shit.
I'm sorry. Gary. Like, I saved you and we're going to fuck. Like, you thought he was going to get really aggressive, but he's like, oh, I thought we were having a moment. And she's like, no, bro, we weren't. And it ends kind of like, it almost makes it worse that it ends so nonchalantly.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
There's never been a woman who's been in more danger than Jill who doesn't try to stop the danger. Like, I'm not trying to victim blame, but she has so many red flags about everything, about her entire situation. Like, her parents are missing and people are throwing bricks through her window, and she has one pervo, a clown, at her house, and she has this other perv like literally laying on top of her, and she's been drugged multiple times. All of this has happened and she still is just like, I'm gonna stay at this house. This is my house. It's kind of nice, Al. It's big.
Yeah.
I got a big field.
Well, yeah. And like red carpet, the whole house is wild too. That's why like the weird dreamlike feeling of everything also is played up by the fact that the interior of the house is really creepy. But anyway, Tiny Tim is in a different movie now at this point.
He's
like
gone.
Doing
Yeah.
bits. He's off on his own, doing his own thing. Gary's crying in his cock barn. And Murph shows up and is like, I got to tell you what's going on, Jill. I got to show you something. And Murph takes Jill to his cabin, shows her all these pictures, whatever. Basically just is like, hey, my parents, here's our suicide note. Gary made it look like a murder for some reason. We never really understand why. And this scene I love because it is a climactic scene, or one of the climactic scenes, but also Tiny Tim can't stop staring directly down the barrel of the camera. He keeps like looking at Jill, and then he'll just go
to nobody, and then just to no one, no one's there,
and then realize, oh shit, I'm not supposed to do that. Like it is, and they keep it. He does it like 3 times in this sequence.
Yeah.
But the boys are just struggling around. Gary comes in, is like, leave her be, and like she still doesn't understand that like Gary is the threat, not Merv. And then the boys are wrestling. Jill fucking gut shots for Merv. She just finds a random loaded 38 and just gut shoots Merv. And you're like, oh, that's a rough way for Merv to go. Then immediately Jill realizes that Gary has, whacked out poo brains at this point and tries to call the police, but Gary is, he's in his Gary disguise by the way now. He's back in his Gary suit and he starts chasing Jill with a knife and he's cut the phone lines. They end up in the barn, which you might expect.
I want to mention Gary also spikes the camera as he's in his Gary garb because he's in.
Does he?
Yeah, he's in the barn and he's turning a lamp up to give it more light for whatever reason. And as he's turning it up, he spikes the camera and then goes back to the lamp. So like, it's just very funny. Like people can't stop looking at the camera because I imagine Bill Rebane's behind it just screaming at them.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. There's nothing funnier to me to just seeing Tiny Tim all sweaty and clammy just look just directly into the camera lens. Like I said, they end up in the barn. This is when Jill finds, Scott, Sarah, her parents, they're all strung up and dead. Gary gives this big speech to try to make like Merv a significant part of the movie again. And explains that, he killed everyone so that she'll be alone with him now. And it doesn't make any sense. Jill tricks Gary, does that like he's a crazy guy, so I'll tell him I love him and he won't be able to resist and he'll get confused. So she does that, but when she makes a run for it, she runs directly to the wall, straight into the wall, towards the wall. He grabs her before she gets to the wall, but if she would have got 4 more feet, she'd just smacked right into the wall. Luckily, there is a sharp, farm utensil and stabs him in the arm, which is a pretty good little practical effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was good.
I wouldn't say it looks realistic, but he stabs, kind of punctures his arm pretty
for the
pretty
movie.
Good.
It was good.
Yeah. Another, extended woodland chase where like Gary is just kind of fucking with her and like smashing an axe beside, or it's a kitchen knife beside her head. Jill very loudly enters this old farm building and Gary just finds her immediately. Like she's very bad at hiding and hog blood drips on her face. And for some reason that's really scary to her, even though like she just saw her friends and parents strung up, but like the hog's very scary to her. I'm not sure why. And then this sequence just could have not been there. Like Gary says words at her. Jill like slaps a wall in this old silo. Like she's going to escape in this old, like stone silo.
Oh God. This part of this movie was so slow and so sad.
It didn't need to be there. Nothing happened. They just roll around. Nothing happens. She goes, God, give me the strength to kill you or something.
Yeah. See, that's my favorite line because it's almost like a take on that Onion headline. It's very famous of like, some kid like prays for his cancer to be cured. He's like, dear God, cure my cancer. And then no says God, because that's how this scene plays out. She says, God, give me the strength to kill you. And then she doesn't kill Gary. So I just thought, no says God.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was the best part of the whole scene was just that one line. But this scene seems like it goes on. It
could have stayed in the cuck barn.
Yeah, for sure. They didn't need to go to this next location. You could tell that they were like, oh, this is going to seem like this insurmountable thing. And it's she's never going to be able to get away because she's in this circular room and it's tall and it's symbolism.
Shut up.
Or we simply just haven't filmed enough to make a hour fucking long movie yet.
Yeah.
We might have to pad out the script. Yeah.
Yes.
Another great scene is when they show Paul hung upside down and he's been killed and he's been hanging there for a while and you can see his chest moving and his eyes are darting around.
I saw his eyes. Yeah. I remember that part too.
It's pretty good. Right as Gary's about to kill Jill, Merv shows up with the rifle, shoots Gary. He was gut shot, but he's fine now. No big deal.
No big deal.
And then this this fucked up synth organ music plays as we see Gary like still alive, his clearly still alive corpse laying there. And then he does the like eyes open like a murderer does. And then the credits are Tiny Tim singing just this banger about Marvelous Mervo that I don't think we hear during the runtime of the actual movie.
I do not believe you do. I don't know if this is part of like when he first introduces himself, he sings a little song to Jill, and now like
he doesn't. He just says it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, was that the acapella, and now this is the full production studio version of that?
But they keep doing the Jack and Jill, and then it's Gary and Jill went up the hill. Like he keeps singing that. But he never sings anything. I honestly think, and I forget because it's been a little while since I saw this movie get like the Joe Bob treatment. And I don't know if he gets into this, but I can see that the scenario where they really did have Merv being the killer, but Tiny Tim was so incapable of acting on screen with other people that they switched it up and ended up making him rewriting the script to make him a red herring because he just obviously couldn't be on screen with other people.
Right. Yeah. Or even if it was just like a duo thing where they were both the killer. Because then like you could set it up. Yeah. You get the thing of like the obvious killer of Merv, but then the surprise killer of Gary. So it's you can still do a twist that way. But yeah, I can see that as well.
It just doesn't seem like that's how it was shot initially, or that's how it was planned originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Merv had every reason to be the killer. Those animals that they had to kill because the farm got sold were apparently his best friends.
Right.
He loved those fucking pigs.
He's super into the animals. They're talking about the one primary, there's one animal, I forget what the pig's name was, that she was obsessed with. And so he had all the motivation. Anyway, guys, that's Blood Harvest from 1987. Yeah. Creepy, grimy, weird. Stands out as a movie. I mean, can't think of another movie that's quite like that. And I think that's why I think that's why I like it.
Yeah. No, it stands out. It's definitely like of its time way sleazier than a lot of films. Like you were saying, most of the films we mentioned next to it are all just fucked up Italian giallo. Like those those guys are slime, so
love a movie you feel like you can't trust. And like I said, added extra element. You actually thought that maybe you were going to learn that Tiny Tim killed somebody on set because he's just so manic and sweaty.
Like even just accidentally, like just a gun going off or something that he didn't expect.
What is Tiny Tim doing right now? Does anyone know? Is he?
Oh, dead.
Oh, nothing. Got it.
Oh no, he's dead. He done died.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of like fun. There, I actually watched one time a little kind of miniature. I don't know if it was miniature. I think it was under an hour, but like documentary about him. On I think it's on YouTube. Maybe I don't know. Really interesting character. Really tragic in a way, but he actually died on stage performing at because he became most known for originally his first like run at fame was he would be a guest on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
These are back in the black and white days, right? And he was a reoccurring guest, and he was just this wacky guy who sang songs, and everyone laughed and thought he was wacky. Then he had a few different like spats at fame. He had some like novelty hits on the radio and that sort of thing. But he had faded into obscurity, but he had remained popular amongst ukulele enthusiasts. So he was playing at a ukulele, like, I don't know, convention, but some sort of ukulele club convention thing or whatever, and fucking died on stage.
Oof.
Dropped dead.
Yeah, he was definitely like kind of a proto to like Weird Al and
that's what I was going to.
And Wesley Willis. He kind of exists in between those two. Like he was competent on the ukulele, but I don't think he ever really wrote anything original. It was all just doing kind of the covers. Yeah,
these old folksy kind of little tunes and stuff like that. Yeah. Interesting guy. Obviously a pretty troubled guy. I think Dan just mentioned as well. I think, and I might recall this something, I think he was one of those like closet. I don't know if he was in his personal life, but like was most likely a gay person, you know, in an era where that was not acceptable at all. So probably felt like he couldn't, you know, be who he was in the public eye. Or that it would obviously, you know, concerned it would hurt his career, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I think he also had other struggles with mental illness and that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
interesting dude though, and hell of a creepy performance in this movie, whether it was on purpose or not.
The creepiest. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, here we are. We went through the 3 movies. Just to recap, we have from 2009, Killer Clown, from Master Steven, Big Clown Benjamin, bringing it up with Clowntown from 2016, and then of course your boy bringing it way on back to 1987 with Blood Harvest. Steve, how are we going to do this? How are we going to vote? How are we going to lay these votes down?
We're going to go in the opposite direction that we presented tonight. So we're going to start with Brian.
Okay.
Ben will deliver his vote second, and I'll vote last.
I will say, I thought I knew for sure of the 2 which one I was going to vote on right off the bat. But I'll be honest with you, talking about Clowntown made me like it even more, or respect it even more.
Oh, thank you.
Because it is at least a competently made film, whereas Killer Clown is not at all. However, I feel like I do need to stick to my word in the sense that I am here for entertainment value. Steve is the filmmaker. Oh, we got to talk about who made the film and the filmmaker. I say I'm here for entertainment value. Which one did I enjoy the experience more, and which one am I likely to watch again? And for that, although I will definitely fast forward through the chase scenes, there is a high degree of likelihood I will never watch Clowntown again. Although it is, like I said, perfectly fine. I've watched hundreds of movies that I feel similarly about, where I was like, oh, it had some cool elements. I would even go as far as to say that the stringy-haired adult Ricky the clown, was actually a standout.
Of all of our movies.
He was, well, no, Tiny Tim was the creepiest clown, but he was the most murderous clown for sure.
Okay, hold on. Before we vote, though, what if we put all of our main clowns in a fight to the death?
Okay.
What clown do you think would win?
Mine, because I has machine gun.
Tiny. Well, machine gun clown.
He couldn't.
But if
he didn't hit anything.
Okay,
Nothing.
but even
that's
still,
true. I was gonna say guns are useless if you can't put the bullet in somebody.
Even still, my clown killed way more people.
He did. Yeah, actually.
So, yeah, he did it on his own. He didn't have a cadre of clowns with him.
No.
But to be honest with you, those clowns, although they were a cadre of clowns, they never played that to the advantage. They only approached people one-on-one or one-on several.
Just like my clown. So, yeah. One-on-one, they couldn't take down all of those people. They stink. Stink-ass clowns.
Tiny Tim would probably have made you a cup of Folgers flavor crystals and then creeped you out.
Yeah. Again, you're
maybe touch your boob. Maybe touch your boobs a little bit.
Maybe try to touch your boob when you weren't looking. Yeah, Tiny Tim's not going to make it out of that room with any of the clowns involved. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to lose that one. Yeah. But my vote, I mean, the ending and the fact that I would suggest for people to watch this, if we're talking quality of movie, obviously mine and Steve's are way worse. Mm-hmm. In fact, Steve's is like, honestly, it's a horrible movie.
It's fucking terrible.
But it's so entertaining in its stupidity. And that's kind of, we were going for bottom of the barrel here. I probably have to go for Killer Clown.
It's the fact that it's so bad. Like
it's uniquely bad.
It crosses that membrane of incompetent to straight into just like bafflingly wrong. Of like, you did everything wrong. Like I said, every frame a mistake.
And earnest. Yeah. Maybe even more importantly than anything, there are tons of horrible movies out there.
Right.
But this is,
and that's what I want to let me bring this, I want to bring this up just for future movies that I pick.
Mm-hmm.
There obviously there is a fine line. Like I could have picked worse movies than Steve picked tonight, but Steve's had a realm of it made sense. Like it was all like to a point. It was well, and it had the secret sauce. And like that's the thing with so bad they're good movies. Yes. I always pick on this movie, even though I think it actually is made with some skill and some comedic timing and comedic skill, I guess is the word I'm looking for here, is Velocipaster. I pick on this movie a lot, but it is actually a genuinely well-made and funny movie, but it is intentional camp. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's corny on purpose. And joke is, we're making a bad movie. Right. Those have kind of run their course unless they're purely comedic. Like we watched the Helen Keller versus the Night Wolves with who was on for that episode.
That was just you and I, but it was a suggestion from a guest.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. It was a guest punishment. Anyway, that movie is just a straight up comedy. It's just joke. To make a movie on purpose bad, it has to be just jokes. This movie is not on purpose. This movie is earnest. Like I said, the tongue never comes anywhere close to the cheek. And that's what makes it funny. That's the difference between somebody kicking somebody in the balls and somebody pretending to get kicked in the balls. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right.
Have you seen The Room?
That's Tommy Wiseau, the guy we were talking about. That's the movie that they made.
The Disaster Artist.
The remake the Disaster Artist was based on.
Yeah. The film Disaster Artist, starring James Franco and Seth Rogen, was based off a book written by the actor from The Room. And like, it's a fantastic book too. If anybody who like is interested in like what it's like to be on a set with a maniac, I love this book and it's so easy to read. Like it's a quick read. So I love that book. Check it out. But the film itself, The Room, is made by a madman who had $7 million. And he did everything wrong on camera and behind the camera, which is why it's good to read the book too, because you find out like all the crazy shit he did off camera. But like the film becomes infinitely quotable because of how impossibly bad the acting is. Like it's there's no way somebody who's trying in earnest could act like that, but he did. And that's what makes it unique. So you watch it and you go, oh, hi, Mark. Oh, hi, doggy. I love you.
Well, today is the day you see that meme.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's March 1st.
Oh, hi,
so
March.
Every day you see, oh, hi, March. You see that meme with the guy with the long black stringy hair. It says, oh, hi, March. That's Tommy Wiseau acting in The Room. Anyway, it is absolutely worth watching. It is like one of the all-time, like it has become in the last couple decades, like one of the all-time like midnight movies of just people, going and just watching this cult asinine film. But so that's what I like about this is this has that flavor to it where it's like it is a comedy of errors because it is all unintentional. And it is somebody literally slipping on a banana peel and falling down the stairs, not pretending like they've slipped on a banana peel and fall down the stairs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Ben, that brings us to your vote.
I'm voting second.
Yeah.
I am voting for Blood Harvest.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah.
that I liked that movie. Didn't like it at first, obviously, when I picked it for my first pick, and then ran away and then picked fucking Clowntown. But yeah, I love the color. I love the setting. I love the fucking stocking cap over the dude's head. I love the recurve bow. I love naked bodies hanging upside down.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know? It's not often you get to see naked bodies upside down. That's wild.
And that beautiful bow. That was someone's dad's bow.
Yes, absolutely. My dad had a bow just like that.
Same.
With those broad
My
heads.
dad, I'm pretty sure my dad had a very similar. I guess it was darker color. I don't know. But anyway, yes.
So yeah, I'm going
bonding
Blood
over
Harvest,
archery.
Blood Harvest for me.
Okay.
All right.
Man, I want to vote uncommitted so badly. On the one hand, Clowntown, it has clowns that kill, which follows the prompt of killer clowns.
You're such a stickler.
He is.
I want to ding Brian very badly for that, for not, I mean, at least he had a clown. He didn't bring a non-clown movie to a clown fight. But your clown didn't kill, and that's a big no-no. However,
we thought he did.
Yeah,
and he did terrorize people.
You thought he did for 3 seconds until you were.
He terrorized people.
He definitely terrorized.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't clown nuisance. It's clown killing.
Clown confusion.
Yeah.
It's not clown confusion.
Yeah.
This isn't bait and switch clown. However, Blood Harvest will actually get can elicit a reaction out of me. Like, it infinitely skeeves me out and makes me upset to watch it and like question what really did happen to that actress. Like, was she murdered? Because she's never seen again, and it's a big point of contention to find her. But yeah, nobody can. So I'm gonna have to. I hate to do this. I'm gonna have to go Blood Harvest. It's
you are, you saucy bitch.
It's just Clowntown. I'll never watch it again, and I'll never feel or think about it. Like, I might accidentally think about Blood Harvest because it's just it's so unpleasant. If I hear a Tiny Tim song, I'm not going to think of the Insidious movies. I'll think of Blood Harvest, and I'll think of, oh, what a gross pervert that Bill Rebane is. If I watch the Giant Spider Invasion, I'll think about this movie again as well. I'll be like, oh yeah, Giant Spider Invasion, go Packers. Oh wait,
crotch shots.
Yeah, crotch shots.
Hey, maybe I'm not even here to win. Maybe I'm here to bring the title back to Brian.
Whatever.
Trying to bring it back home where it belongs.
Yep, where it belongs.
I feel like Ben's always working against me.
Yeah, because you're always ended up you've been
you
on kind of a streak.
You've had that belt for so long and so many times.
I think I've only had it for a month. What are you talking about? Brian wins the title more than I do. God damn you, Ben.
Oh,
that's true. That's true. But I just feel like I haven't won it enough. So, anyway, guys, I've got a few different movies that I'm thinking about for this punishment that I've been thinking long and hard about. I'm not ready to announce it yet because a couple of the movies that I have been wanting to watch or wanting to use as a punishment, I haven't watched yet. So I don't want to waste it. I don't want to just go off of other people's, suggestions and stuff like that. So I've got a couple movies to watch this week to figure out what that fucking punishment's going to be. One of them might be called Dick Shark. Guys, I don't think. Have you seen Dick Shark? No, is anybody familiar
I've heard
with
of
2016?
No. Sounds great.
It doesn't look. It looks too stupid. But Oh, Dan says, is there an Easter puppy movie? There might be. I was just
There
looking
is.
through my
There is.
I use my
he's hidden in an egg.
There is an Easter puppy. There's a fucking Arbor Day puppy movie. But I'm going through my letterbox, to watch list, because that's where I keep some of these, like movies I actually generally want to watch versus movies that I want to use as punishment. And I'm seeing things like Dick Shark on here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I also see on here a Halloween Puppy, aka Halloween Puppy Adventure, aka The Great Puppy Adventure, aka Magic Puppy. And it's on here, and it makes me want to kind of go back down to that well too. So boy, we'll see. There's also a lot of fun, wild Hong Kong shit that I've been watching lately too.
Yeah, boy.
Taiwanese stuff. All right, we'll figure it out. I also have really been wanting to watch a movie. Maybe anybody out there is listening to this episode. You can tell me if this is worth watching. A movie that has been referred to me many times. It is on Tubi, from 1998, called Invisible Dad. It is not a horror movie. I don't believe so. I think it's like a family comedy.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I'm going to say at least 5 to 10 people have told me to watch Invisible Dad. And so, if anybody's seen that out there, give me a holler. Let me know if it's worth all the hype that people are giving it. So
it has Karen Black in it. Interesting.
I've been told that it is one of the most bonkers just films ever made.
Yeah.
Like it has quite a reputation.
Huh.
And I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. But anyway, guys, we'll figure it out. Just don't get your panties in a bunch. Hold tight. Old Bri will tell you next week when we get into that son of a bitchin' punishment episode. All right. So I'm going to go polish my belt, polish my strap. Anything else we need to do here besides thanking our wonderful friend, Bigfoot Ben, aka Big Clown Ben, aka once we do shark
real
movies,
drunk.
you can
Look
come
at
back
that.
and
I've had about
you drank all them beers.
Yeah, I've had about 5 IPAs. I'm just about dead. I'm gonna
Ben's
sleep
got
good.
a real smiley, real squinty-eyed look on his face.
I'm gonna sleep good tonight, everybody.
Your boy drank a whole bottle of Lambic, and now I'm getting into them Coors Lights and
Coors.
Colorado Kool-Aids over here. So,
let's see. Just
else,
a
Steve?
couple notes. We're talking Invisible Dad from 1998. It's a sequel to the 1996 movie Invisible Mom, and both were directed by Fred Olen Ray. So that's
where do I know that name? Where do I know that name from?
a lot of schlocky, shitty movies. He's done a lot of stuff. Recently, we watched something. Here's an interesting tie. His son directed that movie Circus Kane that I talked about.
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen that. But every time I see it pop up on Tubi, I always say, it's a Circus Kane. I just do dancing.
Yeah.
I just insert into a dancing.
But
song.
also, Fred Olen Ray has directed things like Moon Maidens and Piranha Women and House of Secrets and Bikini Jones and the Temple of Eros. So,
Bikini Jones and the Temple of Arrows. Yep. That's a strong
that
title.
sounds good.
Yep.
Sounds sexy and dangerous.
Oh, and Invisible Mom 2 in 1999.
Invisible Mom, Invisible Dad, Invisible Mom 2, Invisible Dad 2, Invisible Magic Halloween Puppy.
Invisible.
That's what
Emmanuel 2000. He directed one of the episodes.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. He's got softcore porn pedigree as well. Dan said invisible audience. Ta-ta-ta.
Probably if we do all that. That Return of the Ancients by Three Floyds, the Red Irish Ale. It's a little too hoppy.
A little too hoppy. I knew it. That's what they do. They make styles that shouldn't be that hoppy, too hoppy for my taste, which is to say, I like hoppy beers, but when they're supposed to be hoppy, you guys.
Right.
All right. I'll get off my high horse here.
Shut up.
All right, boys and ghouls. Thanks for joining us for this here Showdown episode. Join us next week for a mini-sode wherein your boy holds all the cards over here. I'm going to be throwing out a fucking punishment episode of these rat fucks. Ben, you are more than welcome to come back and join us for the punishment episode. Just get ready. Batten down the hatches. All right. For the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
I'm Big Clown Benjamin.
God.
I just imagine when he's doing that, like for some reason it's like a truck stop clown. He's like,
oh my God,
instead of like a bouquet of flowers, he's got like a bunch of Slim Jims, like a whole bouquet of Slim Jims.
Hey, take a big snap of Slim Jim.
He is definitely a Route 66 attraction.
All right, boys and girls, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.